Ready.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the July 7th, 2026 public hearing on the inclusion of the agricultural district to be held by the county legislature in the historic courthouse at 6:30 p.m. It is now 6:35. I would ask everybody to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Legislator Wilbur, would you lead us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would ask the clerk to call the roll.
District 1, Legislator Montgomery. Here. District 2, Legislator Woolman.
Present.
District 3, Legislator Agnasio. District 4, Legislator Russo.
Present.
District 5, Legislator D'Angelo.
Present.
District 6, Legislator Regan.
Present.
District 8, Legislator Sage.
Present.
District 9, Legislator Crowley.
Present.
District 7, Chairman Birmingham.
Here. Thank you. I would ask the clerk to read the notice that was published in the paper for this public hearing.
Notice is hereby given that pursuant to Article 25-A of the Agriculture and Markets Law of the State of New York, Section 303-B, that one or more requests have been received by the Putnam County Legislature for inclusion for predominantly viable agricultural land within Putnam County Certified Agricultural District. Further notice is hereby given that the Putnam County Agriculture and Farmland Protection Board has considered the request for inclusion and reported which parcels for inclusion would serve the public interest by assisting in maintaining a viable agricultural industry within the district. Further notice is hereby given that the parcels requested for inclusion are Town of Kent, the Ferguson's Farm, parcel ID number 43.-2-13, total acreage 7 acres. Crooked Fence Farm, parcel ID number 43.-2-44, total acreage 104.53 acres. Town of Carmel, Crooked Fence Farm, parcel ID number 43.-1-33, total acreage 7.66 acres. Tea Kettle Farm, parcel ID number 372-00076.17-1-6, total acreage 4.37 acres. Town of Patterson, 84 Ludingtonville Road, LLC, parcel ID number 22.12-1-5, total acreage 1.19. High Point Equestrian, parcel ID number 372-40036.-3-10, total acreage 75 acres. Hidden Hope Farm, parcel ID number 24.-1-62, total acreage 18.61 acres. Town of Southeast, CQW LLC, parcel ID number 68.13-1-1.2, total acreage 20.69 acres. Dingle Ridge Pollinator Farm, parcel ID number 69.17-1-18.1, total acreage 16.67 acres. Twin Oak Ventures LLC, parcel ID number 57.2-52.4, total acreage 48.88. Town of Putnam Valley, Clara Katunga Farm, parcel ID number 72.12-1-6, total acreage 1.7. Total acreage in petitions 306.3 acres. Further notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held on Tuesday, July 7th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. in the historic courthouse, Carmel, New York, to consider these requests for inclusion and recommendations of the Putnam County Agriculture and Farmland Protection Board and the Physical Services Committee by order of the Putnam County Legislature.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have some language we typically read before this public hearing in particular, and I'm going to read that now. Is the procedure for comments on public hearing The members of the Agricultural and Farmland Protection Board have visited all the parcels that have been requested to be included in the agricultural district and reported which, if any, parcels should be included. These recommendations have been reviewed and considered by our Physical Services Committee, which is chaired by Legislator Goldman. Anyone wishing to speak tonight regarding the petitions for inclusion into the agricultural district should come up to the microphone and state their name and the town in which they reside. There will be no cross-discussion with the members of the legislature. This is our opportunity to hear from the public, and legislators will have their opportunity to discuss the applications before voting on them at the meeting of the full legislature immediately following this public hearing. If you do have a question, please leave your name and contact information with our clerk, Diane Travolsi. She just read the notice, and we will get back to you promptly. Typically on public hearings like this, we do not have a time limit for how long people can speak. Before coming into the chambers this evening, I didn't know how many people would be here speaking on the agricultural district. I don't think I'm going to be limiting time. Our full legislative meeting starts tonight at 7 p.m. It's only 6:41 now. To the extent we need to, in view of the amount of people here tonight, I don't think it would be unreasonable for us to continue the public hearing beyond 7 o'clock if people are still speaking, but I would like to get to the legislative meeting no later than 7:15 tonight. So having said that, the public hearing is now open, as I said previously. Anybody who wants to speak in favor of or in opposition to the inclusion of any parcels into the agricultural district, I'd invite them to come up to the podium to state their name and the town in which they reside. And to the extent you haven't done so already, we ask you to kindly write your name on the list. It's only for our clerk so that she can get the spelling correct, because this is a public hearing and we do take minutes. So with that, I'll open it up to any member of the public who would like to speak, and we'd be happy to hear you. Welcome.
Good evening.
Could you just turn that? Thank you, guys.
A respectful pause to allow other people to go ahead. Good evening. For the record, my name is Jennifer Gray. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Keene & Bean in White Plains, New York. My office represents Raul and Wendy Martin, who reside at 147 Star Ridge Road in the town southeast. Raul and Wendy are here with us tonight. And we're here tonight in opposition to the inclusion of certain property to be located within the agricultural district. That property is at 141-143 Star Ridge Road in southeast, and it's the application of CQW LLC. The Martins received notice for this public hearing last week. They quickly called me, retained my office by the end of last week. We submitted a letter this afternoon. It is rather lengthy. I apologize for the length and the timing of it. We tried to get that to you as soon as possible, given the time constraints with the holiday weekend. It was difficult to get to before today. My clients opposed the application for inclusion in the Ag District because they are concerned about the impacts of a full-blown commercial equestrian operation located right next to their property. My clients are concerned about increased traffic on the gravel driveway that runs alongside the entire north side of their property to the farm in the back. This includes large horse trailers that I'm told already have trouble navigating the property. They're also concerned about noise, particularly if the applicant intends to offer riding lessons in the outdoor riding ring that they have on the property or host horse shows. There's very little information available in the application in terms of what exactly is proposed in terms of the commercial operation. They're also concerned about septic and well capacity, odors, stormwater management issues. But those are all the list of their concerns. Normally, these types of concerns would be all vetted and addressed through the zoning and planning process within the town of Southeast for this type of commercial use, which is in a residential district. However, first, the applicant apparently has been operating a commercial boarding facility for at least 2 years now, according to the application, without the proper permits and approvals from the town of Southeast. A notice of violation in order to remedy was issued by the building department of the town of Southeast about a week ago, when the department learned about this commercial operation as a result of the application submitted by the owner. We learned of this through a FOIL request recently through the town of Southeast. The notice of violation states that the boarding of horses not owned by the property owner is considered to be a quote-unquote equestrian center within the town code. That requires a special permit from the Southeast Town Board and also a conditional use permit from the planning board. And those permits have not been obtained. Other permits were obtained for an accessory apartment on the property. Those approvals were obtained through the planning board and other building permits, etc. If included in the Ag District, I'm sure the applicant is aware that there are certain protections that are available for properties in the Ag District under the Ag and Markets Law as it relates to state and local codes. If it's found that the town cannot enforce its zoning laws against this commercial use in a residential district, we're concerned about what protections are left for homeowners in the area if the commercial use does result in the impacts that my clients are concerned about. So where are the limits? The zoning and planning process allows for the imposition of conditions and limits on uses like this, commercial uses in residential areas, which may not be compatible with the zoning district, but for those conditions and limits. If the ability of the town to impose those conditions and limits is taken away because of the inclusion in the Ag District, we're concerned about what the nearby homeowners are going to be left with. My clients are not anti-farm, they're not anti-horse, they're just interested in protecting their peace and quiet at their property and their property values. The letter that I submitted earlier today, I don't want to take up too much time, I know you have a full agenda for your regular meeting. The letter I included today on the more technical side goes through what it means to be a viable agricultural land under the Ag and Markets Law. You have to show that the land is highly suitable for a farm operation as defined in the Ag and Markets Law. So there's two components there, farm operation, and there's a whole definition tree, I'll call it there. To be a farm operation, that also includes commercial horse boarding operations and commercial equine operations. They each have their own criteria to be met. As explained in the letter, we don't believe that the application before you demonstrates that they are a farm operation at this time. And then secondly, we also don't believe that, for the reasons I just went through, this parcel is not highly suitable for a farm operation in this location, in this context. It's too close to existing residential properties. There's a lack of a buffer between those residential properties and the farm. There's also environmental constraints on this property. In the letter I submitted, I included the subdivision plat from 2020 that was filed. There's a large wetland area in the rear. And in the subdivision plat in the notes, there's restrictions that are imposed that there shall be no disturbance in the wetland or the buffer area beyond, there's a stone wall that's on the property, or should be on the property, that demarcates where that buffer is. And it's a significant portion of the 20 acres that is not to be disturbed. The letter also addresses the criteria for inclusion from your resolution from December of 2025. It goes through the entire set of criteria and explains why we feel the application doesn't meet each of those criteria. So on behalf of my clients, we would encourage the legislature to deny this application, or at the very least defer action until you have all the information you need in order to make this determination. The application is not complete as it's been presented to you, and there are concerns about the suitability of this property for inclusion in the Ag District. The Ag and Markets Law provides protections for farm operations in Ag districts, but not every farm operation is suitable for inclusion in the district. So with that, I thank you very much for the opportunity to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. I should have said this at the outset, in that this isn't a back and forth at all, and that it's not meant in that fashion. We have received everything that has been sent to us via email or via letter. We have received all of that. All of the legislators have those communications in their possession. Just a general statement I should have made at the beginning. We've had a lot of emails from both in favor of and against certain parcels for their inclusion, as well as written communications that we received as well. So just as a general statement, everything that we received, Diane, as of about maybe 4 o'clock today, I don't think there's been anything since, I just walked over. We received, and everything since 4 o'clock and before today is in the possession of all of our legislators, whether it's in their emails or physically here on the table. So thank you for that.
Mr. Chairman?
No, this is a public hearing. This is just a general statement.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to, I should have said that at the beginning. Thank you. Any other members of the public here to speak? Welcome.
Hi there, I'm Christine Walsh. I'm the neighbor and applicant of the property that was just discussed. I'm really sorry for everybody involved that this is the place to have this conversation. I am a very neighborly person. I would have preferred to have had, a meeting with the neighbors. I'm not sure I even recognize them because I've only seen them once since I've been there for 2 years. I think just to clarify a few things, I have made this application to be a part of the Ag District because it is in fact a farm. I spent considerable time with site plans and working with the town of Southeast. Everything I have done has been in accordance with all of the wetland rules, all of the buffer rules. I love my stone wall, which is beautiful and on my property, and I love the fact that there's, I believe, 15 plus acres beyond it that are wetlands. None of that is a problem for me as a person who owns the land. Part of the land that I have used is suitable for my personal horses to live there. I think the use of the word commercial horse business, without defined terms, sorry, I am a lawyer, the county terms as to what they require for a business versus the town's definitions of what is a commercial equestrian center versus boarding friends' horses for compensation to do the same are not the same thing, which I've learned in the past 2 days, having gone down this hole with the town to remedy any deficiency that I have in whatever permit is needed to be able to have a friend's horse who pays compensation for it. I am by no means trying to do anything other than what I have been doing. I have a small farm on my property. I think it's beautiful and it brings value to the road. I live on Star Ridge Road where there are many other horse farms. It is a horse area and a horse community. I've gone to great lengths to put in beautiful trees to provide privacy only for this particular neighbor that I thought they would like. I'm very careful with when we make noise and when we don't. I really am genuinely a neighborly person who would have loved to have had a conversation about any concerns they have. Truck traffic, I believe that they were concerned that horse trailers stop on the road. That was because of their concern that I think Amazon or UPS had been driving over the edge of their driveway, which I cannot control Amazon drivers. So we thought that the road was better than perhaps interfering in that way. So I just wanted to, stand up to discuss some of the points that were just raised, but in particular, this concept of a commercial horse business. I'm not having horse shows. There's not increased traffic. There's absolutely nothing by my application to the Ag District of the county that would change what I'm already doing and have been approved for in a very, very stringent approval process through the town, and everything that exists on the property is permitted to be there.
Thank you. Oh, there's one in the clipboard.
Oh, so sorry.
Thank you. Anyone else care to speak in favor of or in opposition to the inclusion of any parcel? Sir, welcome.
Hi, my name is John Holzapfel. I live on 81 Wellingtonville Road, and I just wanted to talk about the application for 84 Wellingtonville Road. On the paper that we got, it says 1.09. I'm sorry.
I just can't hear you if you put that closer to your mouth.
I'm sorry.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
So they had read that it was 1.19, I think, I believe.
Yes.
But it's, on the paper we have, it says 1.09 that was sent out. Regardless, it's a small lot. It's 1 acre. He already has 2 separate buildings. I think it's a 4-car garage and a 3-apartment building there on that property. He has a pond that I'm sure runs into DEP land because every pond and river runs into DEP in Putnam County. I've lived in Putnam County for over 50 years. I love the motto, where the country begins. And I've seen a lot of change in Putnam in the 50 years. I'm not against farms. This lot is not suitable for what I understand is a 3,000 square foot greenhouse. There's a daycare right next door. The speed limit is 40 miles an hour on that road. If people start slowing up to go to a fruit stand, I think we're going to have more problems and more accidents. I just, and I've talked to the daycare all the way to 311, and I've talked to at least half of my neighbors, and not one of them said, yeah, I would really like that. They all said, ooh, I didn't know that, and that doesn't sound like a great idea for here. So I would just oppose the application. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And you already wrote your name down, so thank you for that. Welcome.
I'm Christine Revetto, and I also live on Ludingtonville Road, on 20 Ludingtonville. I thought there was going to be some get some information, but I guess it is. So my concern with the 84 Ludingtonville is wastewater. What are they growing? And what sort of wastewater is going to be? Are they putting fertilizers in there? Is there, pesticides going on? And where does all that water go? We do not have commercial septics there. It's a residential area, and we all have septic fields there. Will these wastewater go ahead and taint any of our wells? And if so, what sort of recourse do we have on that? What about air quality? What sort of things are they putting into this 3,000 square foot building when there's already 2 other buildings on the property and a pond? So I don't know where the space is. I did not get a chance to see what this gentleman or this homeowner or owner was looking to do there. And I would just like to know, because it's a residential area. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the public who wish to speak on any of the parcels? It's 6:58. Oh yes, please come up and join us. I was just going to say it's 6:58. Our meeting starts at 7 o'clock.
Try 17 minutes.
No, no.
I've been here 7:15.
I know. Again, there's no crosstalk. I will keep the public hearing open until 7:10 if no one else is here to speak. If there's somebody who shows up at 7:09, of course I'll probably yield, of course. We want to be fair and hear from everybody. Welcome. Please state your name and town you live in.
Cassandra Roth, Patterson Pauling, also the chair of the Soil and Water Conservation District. Well, I rushed here. There are roads closed, there's a lot going on in Pauling. But I had emailed earlier today to the legislature to ask if the email correspondence has gone back and forth between the Ag Board, the legislature, and some of the local towns and officials, and some of these complaints would be put into the public record. I think that because it is part of, I forget this is a cross-tract, because it is something that goes into the deliberation, is something that whether you want to or didn't want to, you read. And you read the back and forth. You read the back and forth that there is still municipal home rule, there is still authority, there is still a protection of public health and safety. There is still all of that. There's been a mischaracterization back decades. This was started in 2003, this program. This is a voluntary program for the county to support agriculture, no matter the size, no matter the scale. Now that said, the public hearing is to get the input from constituents of does this aid in the public industry of agriculture in Putnam County? Everything I've heard is there's no agriculture in Putnam. The amount of county officials that have told me personally that as I went through this journey of becoming an applicant, friends with an applicant ourselves, all the way to now being chair of the Soil and Water District, I was going to teach you to get involved in this if things, seem not right. And the concerns that people say are valid. They're valid concerns, but they're misplaced concerns with this program. Now, that's not on any particular individual landowner or neighbor, because how would they know? That's the job of government. That is the job that the Ag Board was tasked with, to relay specifically what the Ag District is, what it means, what authority home rule has, what authority municipalities still have to enforce their local codes, their local zoning. But the Ag Board repeatedly has been either shut down, Ag Board chairs removed, or stifled because they're voluntary members that can be removed at any time. The Ag District is supposed to remove political decision-making and, the zoning impulses, particularly of towns, and the residential pressure on farms. Now, that's not to say you don't have the ability to enjoy your piece of neighborhood, but none of these people arrived, said, I need to be in the Ag District in order to farm. They're going to farm, whether they're in the Ag District or not. It changes none of that. So I think a lot of confusion that goes around is if you're going to be an Ag District, it means they can do agricultural things that a normal farm can't. That's not true. They still, I can say it 1,000 times, 1,000 times more. All farms must follow all local laws all the time. It is a town's responsibility for their constituents, for the neighbors, to enforce their zoning. When they say DEP, wetlands, and things like that, you know what? DEP still regulates those wetlands when they're in the Ag District. All it means is they have to go, oof, are we sure we want to do this? Is there an allowable use for agriculture that does not impact public health and safety? That's all it does. So there's been a mischaracterization of this, and there are a few people in a few of these towns that have refused to either acknowledge, in one breath, it's the towns don't have authority and influence on this. I hope these people, and I'm glad to see people coming up in public and saying their concerns, because normally it's not that. Normally it's in the emails behind it, nobody sees. Why would anyone apply for the Ag District, which is a supportive program, if all you're going to do is kick up dust when the dust didn't need to be there? These people have been operating for some a few years, and some, new beginning. The Ag District does not eliminate home rule. It does not take away municipal authority to enforce their code and zoning and everything else. That has no impact on it. So I cannot say that enough. I've said that repeatedly. We had a training back in March. We're going to be continuing to have more trainings on this. We invited all of you. We hope more of you come next year. We're hoping that every single one of you can come. We'll have multiple meetings. But the Ag Board went to every site visit, went to every farm, deliberated, had the conversations. Where Ag Board is there by statute. They are your expert agricultural board, advisory board, because no one expects all of you to be agriculture experts. You got to be experts in good grief government. So I cannot stress enough. I know there's been conversations on the size of farms. That happened in 2020. Some of you were on this legislature then, some of you weren't. Even Cornell had put in, I brought it with me, I can bore you with it, that size doesn't matter for a farm, because in the landscape we have and the availability of lands, there's one farm that got in Southeast in 2020 that's 1.3 acres. And I see them at my farmer's market in Poland. They're a robust farm. So they may be small, but they are mighty. So nothing that you guys do tonight is allowing anybody to do anything differently than they were yesterday, but they will be tomorrow. The only thing it does is commit to faithfully administering the program, which is Ag Districts that Putnam County entered into in 2003, and not letting mischaracterizations or misinformation guide the process. So I could go on forever. I hope it's at least 7:10. I just cannot stress enough. I hope that you guys listen to your expert Ag Board. I'm the only one there who can't get thrown off it, along with planning and tax and a few of the other ones, because we're ex officios by statute of soil and water. But these are all great farms, from the smallest one, which is between 84 Ludingtonville and then Clara Patoga over in Putt Valley, all the way to the Crooked Fence, which is, I think, 104 acres. I support them all equally. I cannot say enough about it, and I would really encourage you to just stick to the books on this and understand it doesn't impact anybody differently. They're still going to farm tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on the Ag District inclusion or favor of or opposition to? It is 7:04. In fairness, we did start about 10 minutes late. What I'd like to do, if my colleagues don't mind, is just keep this open until 7:10, another 6 minutes, just so we can have, in case somebody comes in late or something. I don't want to. I won't tell dad jokes during that time, I promise. But maybe we could just, to the extent my colleagues just want to silence their mics to the extent they're on, we'll just wait another 5 or 6 minutes, and then we'll end the public hearing and then proceed with our legislative meeting. Yes.
I'll teach you whatever feels nice to you. Professor Birmingham, I was
Look at the merits here. Yeah, 4 is right. And this is to the extent you want to blame anybody. And he had a comment. Yes.
Shout out to Birmingham. I'm sure she was Birmingham.
Yeah.
I just try this. Like, I'm sure you could.
Good evening, welcome again. It's, Rich, are we good? We're good, okay. Great, 7:11 now, 7:10. Seeing no other people wishing to speak on the inclusion of parcels into the Ag District? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
I'll make a motion, seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, now we are going to proceed to, just as a procedural matter, just folks in the audience, we're now going to go to our full meeting, which is our monthly meeting. During the Fiscal Services Committee portion of that meeting, we will be entertaining the individually each of the parcels for inclusion or not. So that's where we'll be. Rich, are we good for the next meeting to start? Okay, great. Welcome to the regular monthly meeting of the Putnam County Legislature for July 7, 2026. I'd ask everybody to please stand for the pledge. Aaron, please.
I
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd ask everybody to please remain standing for our legislative prayer.
Thank you, Chairman. We gather together here today, intent on doing good work. We seek to represent fairly and well those who have given us this task. May our efforts be blessed with insight, guided by understanding and wisdom. We seek to serve with respect for all. May our personal faiths give us strength to act honestly and well in all matters before us. Amen.
Amen. I would ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
District 1 Legislator Montgomery. Here. District 2 Legislator Goulman.
Present.
District 3 Legislator Agnazio. District 4 Legislator Russo. Present. District 5 Legislator D'Angelo.
Present.
District 6 Legislator Regan.
Present.
District 8 Legislator Sage.
Present.
District 9 Legislator Crowley.
Present.
District 7 Chairman Birmingham.
Here, our first item on the agenda tonight is the delivery of proclamation designating July 20th through July 26th, 2026 as Putnam County 4-H Showcase Week. I ask Legislator Sage to present the proclamation and to ask to join her in the well anyone that she would like.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll ask Stephanie Hibbert, she's the Executive Director of Qual Cooperative Extension, to join me for this proclamation presentation. Thank you so much for coming this evening. I'll highlight some of the things, and I'd really like to hear from you about the 4-H showcase. Yeah, let's place it that way, the cameras. So this is a proclamation designating July 20th, 2026 as the Putnam County 4-H Showcase Week, whereas the Putnam 4-H Showcase, sponsored by Qual Cooperative Extension of Putnam County, is celebrating its 5th year. Putnam County 4-H Showcase presents many interests and accomplishments of Putnam's children, adults, and programs. It continues to grow as an educational, cultural, and fun event that provides a wholesome experience for families from Putnam County and the surrounding region. The Putnam County 4-H Showcase enjoys the support and dedication of 4-H club leaders, members and families, Master Gardener volunteer program members, community service organizations, and many other local businesses. Resolved that the week of July 20th to the 26th will be designated as Putnam County 4-H Showcase Week, and be further resolved that the Putnam County Executive, Putnam County Legislature recognize and congratulate the annual 4-H Showcase and invite all Putnam County residents to attend. And I'd like to hear from the Executive Director, Stephanie Hibbert, maybe discuss that further.
Sure, absolutely. First, I just want to thank the legislature for your continued support for the Putnam County 4-H Showcase and Fair. This creates a lot of opportunities for youth and agriculture and the community to come together and build success year after year. I think it's a wonderful program and appreciate everybody's support with this. We have some new activities happening at the fair this year. We'll have our first ever corgi races that will be happening on Saturday after opening ceremony, so they will start around 10:30, and we'll also have another round of corgi races on Sunday, again starting around 11:30, but check our website for the actual times. That's one of the most significant things. We will also, again, this year, have an opportunity to showcase Rev 250, because it's not over yet. And we'll have the 5th Brigade there to do some reenactments, as well as the Young Colonials with their fife and drum band will also be participating in the opening ceremonies. So this is a free event. The spirit of it is to bring community together, to showcase the exhibits that the 4-H youth have created throughout the year. We are also opening it up for adult exhibits, most specifically Beautiful Bloom. So if you are a horticulturist, or if you have just a hobby of growing flowers and you'd like to submit it for a prize, feel free to check our website or call our office at 845-278-6738. So I would encourage you all to come and hope to see you there on Saturday the 25th and Sunday the 26th. Wonderful. It's a great event. It's wonderful that we're going to try to go every year. Thank you.
Stephanie, if one were interested, where would one be able to place some action on those corny races?
You know, I'm not at liberty to say.
Okay, we'll talk offline.
Yes,
We'll talk offline. Thank you.
OTV.
OTV, yes, go to your local OTV.
Where do you get it? Can we take one home?
No, they have owners, but apparently this is a big thing, corgi races. So we're happy to have attracted individuals who want to partake in that in our county.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you to 4-H and Cornell for everything you guys do. I know it's a great organization. Our youth really learns a lot from the 4-H program, so thank you for all the work you and your organization does. And that was our proclamation for the month. Our next item of business is correspondence from our county auditor. There have been no erroneous assessments approved by her office this month, so that's just a statutory thing that we need to have each month. Next, we're going to go to pre-filed resolutions, and we're going to go to the Personnel Committee. And I'd ask Legislator Russo to lead us through that agenda. Laura? Oh, I'm sorry, Budget and Finance, my mistake. I should use these, not my mistake. Yes, Budget and Finance Committee, which is all legislators chaired by myself. We have one item, which is an annual item. It is our resolution for the 2027 decentralized budget process. Essentially, what this is every year is instructions to the administration with respect to the tentative budget they propose to this legislature each year, and it sets forth the guidelines that should be followed. It's pretty much the same guidelines each year. There are some notable changes this year, though, some additions. We are stressing the need for us to be included in all departmental requests so that we see them in the requested, in the tentative budget as requests. And also there's some more diligence with respect to county cars that we'd like to see set forth in the budget. So on behalf of the committee, I'll move that. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. My apologies, Laura. Now we'll go to the Personnel Committee.
Thank you, Chairman Birmingham. On behalf of the Personnel Committee, Chairwoman Adenizio, and Legislator Sage and myself, I bring forth the approval of budgetary transfer 26T132. The sheriff reallocated monies to fund special patrol officer SPOs. And it's moving to the personnel resource to security and administration duties.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I bring forth budgetary transfer 26T137. The sheriff is funding to cover 911 Dispatch Center overtime, and there is no fiscal impact.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Legislator Russo. Now we're going to move on to the Rules Committee chaired by Legislator Sage. Amy?
Thank you, Chairman. On behalf of the Rules Committee, Legislators Birmingham, Putnam, and myself, I'd like to bring forward Agenda Item 5D. This is an approval for a local law to amend Chapter 55, it's Section 55-12 of the Putnam County Code entitled the Board of Ethics Establishment, Qualifications of Members or Intermembers, Term of Office.
Is there any discussion? Legislator D'Angelo.
Yeah, well, first I want to thank Legislator Regan for putting a great deal of thought into this proposal and for recognizing that this is an issue that deserves serious attention. The people of Putnam County deserve a government that is transparent, accountable, and worthy of their trust. They deserve to know that if a public official violates our ethics laws, there's an independent body that can fairly, professionally, and promptly review those allegations. But right now, we simply don't have that. Unfortunately, Putnam County does not have a functioning ethics board. Even before some untimely deaths and resignations left us without enough members to operate, it was fair to question whether the board fully understood its role or had the structure necessary to effectively carry out its responsibilities. Now, that's not a criticism of any individual who volunteered to serve. It's just a recognition that the system itself needs improvement. And for those watching at home, I think it's important to understand how the ethics board has traditionally been appointed. Until now, every member has been nominated by the county executive. The legislature's only role was to vote yes or no on those nominees. The public never knew how the candidates were identified, what their qualifications were, or who else may have even been considered. And while not always the case, many nominees understandably had political or professional relationships with the county executive. Whether those individuals acted fairly is beside the point. The appearance of independence matters just as much as independence itself. An ethics board should never be perceived as answering to one elected official or feeling beholden to one branch of government. This legislation moves us in the right direction. Instead of all 5 appointments coming from one office, 2 members would be nominated by the county executive, 1 by the chair of the legislature, 1 by the minority leader, and 1 by the full legislature. Every nominee still would require confirmation by a majority vote of this legislature. That creates a much more balanced process. It creates broader public confidence, and ultimately, it strengthens, not weakens, the ethics board. And this approach is hardly revolutionary. In fact, it follows a model that has long existed throughout government. Our own Board of Elections is structured so that Republicans and Democrats each have representation, because we understand that public confidence requires balance. Likewise, when New Yorkers approved the Independent Redistricting Commission, appointments were intentionally divided among the legislative leaders of both political parties. Democrats appointed members, Republicans appointed members, and that bipartisan structure is exactly how Putnam County's own Will Stevens came to serve on that commission. The principle is simple. When independence matters, appointments should not be concentrated in one person's hands. And nowhere is independence more important than on an ethics board. Let me say that again. The ethics board should never be political. Its job is not to protect politicians. Its job is not to advance political agendas. Its job is definitely not to settle political scores. Its only responsibility is to apply the law fairly, objectively, and without fear or favor. No board member should ever feel indebted to the person who appointed them. No citizen filing a complaint should ever wonder whether the process is tilted in favor of one elected official. And no public official accused of wrongdoing should be able to claim the process was politically rigged against them. This legislation helps build that confidence. Is it perfect? Probably not. But very few pieces of legislation are. However, it is unquestionably an improvement over the system we have today. If we're really serious about restoring public trust, then we should all support making our ethics board more independent, more balanced, and more transparent. I believe that's exactly what this legislation accomplishes, and I urge my colleagues to join me in voting yes this evening.
Thank you. Legislator Crowd.
I would like to speak, and I have 2 amendments for you, Chairman.
Amendments can be entertained, however, keep in mind that this is a local law, and with respect to local laws,
Yes, no loss for 10 days.
yes, we have to age for 10 days. Please go ahead.
So it would be to combine in section, on page 2, section, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, section I. Sections for nominations shall be specific designated seats as followed. I would like to combine 2 seats shall be selected by the county executive, and then combine 2, 4, and 5. So I move to amend 2, 4, and 5, that full legislative body at large shall nominate 3 candidates to the Ethics Committee, with each legislator having an equal opportunity to participate in the nomination process. And I'd just like to speak on that for a second. In the interest of transparency, fairness, and public confidence, I'm offering this amendment, or these amendments, to allow the legislature as a whole to nominate 3 candidates for the Ethics Committee. This isn't about taking authority away from anyone. It's about ensuring that all 9 elected legislators, each representing the residents of our respective districts, have an equal voice in the nomination process. An Ethics Committee should be viewed as an independent and above politics. By opening the nomination process to the full legislature, we leave party politics at the door and encourage collaboration across the aisle. Every member has an equal opportunity to recommend qualified individuals based on their integrity, experience, and commitment to serving the public. I believe this approach strengthens the credibility of the Ethics Committee and reinforces our commitment to transparent and accountable government. It demonstrates to the public that ethics appointments are not driven by one individual or one political party, but by the collective judgment of the entire legislature. For those reasons, I respectfully ask your support of this amendment.
Thank you. Amendment has been made. Is there a second to that amendment?
I will second that.
Legislator Russo. Any discussion on this amendment? Legislator Sage.
So I would agree with that, and I'd also like to make a note. I know Legislator D'Angelo, when he spoke, he said that it's the chair of the legislature, the minority chair, and the legislature, but according to this particular document that I'm looking at, it has the chair of the legislature having 2 choices. If you're looking at section I, 2 and 4, the chair of the legislature gets 2, the minority leader gets 1, and the county executive gets 2. I think the most important thing for me, and I'm sorry, I have my microphone wrong. The most important thing for me is, and I would agree with Legislator D'Angelo, that the process needs to be revised, and I'm all in favor of that. It did go through the Rules Committee, and I voted it through, because I do support that. It needs to be nonpartisan, it needs to be needs to have checks and balances, and it needs transparency. I think what Legislator Legislator Crowley is talking about here will offer a lot more transparency. This is something that I've thought about a lot, and I've been back and forth. One thing I will agree with everybody is that it does need to be amended and changed, and I will agree with Legislator Crowley's amendment.
Any other discussion on this amendment? Legislator Russo.
Not necessarily on the amendment, but when we discussed it in committee, and it looks like there might be a typo on number 4, where it just says chair legislature, and number 2 says chair of the legislature.
Could we, I'll get to that, but could we just deal with the amendment at this moment? I'll come back to you as soon as we come out of this amendment. Thank you. Any other legislator care to comment on the amendment? Legislator Reedy.
Thank you, Chairman. I got to say that I feel that any attempt to significantly modify the local law at this point can only be interpreted as obstruction and an attempt to stifle progress. We examined and discussed this extensively in committee, has been in our hands for over a month. I do agree there's the typo that must be changed or corrected, which is what we'll agree upon in committee. But for us to go back to the drawing board with significant changes can only be interpreted as an attempt to stifle the progress that my colleague here was talking about. We need to establish this. Thank you, I yield.
Before we go to Legislator Crowley, is there anyone who hasn't spoken on the amendment yet wish to speak? Seeing none, Legislator, I'm sorry, Legislator, yes, spoken on the amendment, yeah. Yes.
Well, I think just point of order, this is a typo. My understanding was out of committee that 1 did go to the entire legislature. It wasn't 2 to the chair. I know that was how it was.
Yes, that's my understanding as well.
So I was correct on that. Just want to
Chair, if there's a typo on this and it's been sitting in our mailbox inappropriately, we have to go back for 10 days anyway, fixed.
I will ask for some legal advice from our counsel.
So I just want to,
Well, he just had a legal point. You're next, don't worry.
it's the same thing I think that you
Okay.
It is a typo, but that doesn't mean it has to go back for 10 days. The substance of it is set forth in paragraph A. It was just a typographical error. Which can be corrected because it doesn't change the actual substance of the meaning of it, which is set forth in paragraph A. Paragraph A outlines the entire criteria, and that is just a reiteration in the list form that is clearly a typo and be informed.
So your, not to couch your words to us, but your advice to us is that the apparent inconsistency in paragraph Romanet I is ministerial, and that paragraph A controls?
Yeah.
Because it's internally inconsistent, so you would say this is an obvious error, or not error, but obvious Scrivener's error?
Yes, an obvious, yes, exactly. Scrivener's error.
Okay, thank you. Legislator Crowe.
That was the exact question I had, if it had to go back for 10 days, or would the typo to go back in or not?
Apparently I'm hearing no, that it doesn't have to go back for 10 days, but what I would suggest, if it doesn't vitiate it, is to, once we come out of this, we're still in the amendment process, once we come out of the amendment vote, maybe we'll just make that as a friendly Scrivener's amendment, just to conform paragraph Romanet I, paragraph A.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on the amendment?
I want to make sure that I stick to the amendment.
Yes, please.
And if I go off, please correct me.
Let's take a look.
I prepared my notes, but I'm pulling that piece about what the amendment involves. And I think the amendment involves taking out the minority leader.
I don't want to, but yes, I believe that is to take out not only the minority member, but the chair.
The legislative body as a whole.
So I think it's essential that the minority leader remain in the appointment process. You know, Putnam County has a long history of Republican control, and there's a long history and a reputation of unethical control. In fact, the last appointment, and I approved it, wanting to make peace out of respect for this process. And I warned the county executive that the person that he was putting forward, who is on the ethics board right now, had an actual ethics violation, apparent ethics violation, made headlines. He appointed this person anyway to the ethics board. So, and when you look at our volunteer boards, I believe most, if not all, appointed by the county executive are Republican, with the exception of one, I believe. We'd have to really clarify that. So it's not, this revised ethics board code is not really about giving the minority leader control as, you know, God forbid, you know, I've heard that. I know that's what is discussed in your Republican committee meetings. Don't give her anything. It was discussed in that back room. And that's a fact. You know, it's not even a rumor. I've been told by my Republican colleagues that that's what happened back there. So it's not about giving the minority leader control. It's one nomination out of 5, and it's time that maybe we see what's happening in Putnam County and, you know, come to the table together on this. That would make sense. That nominee must still be confirmed by the full legislature. So the majority retains its authority. What this does is add balance, independence, and public confidence. And there's really lacking that right now in Putnam County. Putnam County has had a long history of appointments to volunteer boards, advisory boards, and oversight boards being controlled almost entirely by one political party. That is not a criticism of every person who has served. Many people serve honorably, but structurally it creates a problem, especially for an ethics board. So I'll leave my rest of it for after the amendment is voted on, but I do believe the minority of authority should be left in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Legislator Regan and then Legislator D'Angelo.
Thank you, Chairman. So specifically to the proposed amendment, I encourage my colleagues to vote no on that, and supplementing what my colleague across the table just said right there, I'd like to remind my colleagues that although each one of us may have a declared party, we also represent constituents in all of our districts from all of these parties. So us taking the steps that we have right here, I think is the leadership choice, is the leadership way to go. So the proposed amendment that would eliminate the political party, of which can change in time, it could be us on the other side of this table in the near future. I compel my colleagues to vote down the amendment and vote for the local laws proposed. Thank you.
Legislator D'Angelo.
Yeah, I mean, I would just like to see a process that moves this forward. You know, Legislator Regan, I agree. I don't think that this should be political. I think it's becoming political, but more important than it being non-political, we need a functioning ethics board established, an independent ethics board, and I can live with this amendment if what I'm hearing from my colleagues is that they would vote for this bill as amended. You know, I think it's important that regardless of anything, we keep the train on its tracks and get this passed.
Thank you. Any other comments on the amendment? Legislator Sage.
I'll reiterate what Legislator D'Angelo said. I do think the process is broken. I think I've done so much research on this and I'm so back and forth on it. I almost feel like we should pass something. We can always, I would be really happy to take this on. If we need to amend the local law back in the Rules Committee to tweak it a little bit more, but going process, right now we don't have a working ethics board, and I have a problem with that too. So I've been tossing apples up in the air, but we don't have a working ethics board now, and I really think we do need to get the show on the road.
Okay. Any other comment from any legislator on the amendment? Seeing no others, I'll just ask legislative council if this amendment passes. What I plan to do is move on to the next item on the agenda, because I would view this change as substantive because it's not what came out of committee. So just want to let everybody know that if this does pass, and we need 5 votes to pass it, it's a local law, it's not a charter change, so we only need 5 votes to pass the amendment. If it does pass, it'll go back to rules at the July Rules Committee meeting.
Correct.
Legislator Crowley.
If it did pass it, we could go back to the rules and then give a special just to make sure we had a functioning.
I'm sorry.
We could have a special done to pass it.
Oh, we could, yeah, we could have a
We
special.
could done that and get the train moving, leave politics at the door where they belong, and let's do what's right for the people that we represent. That's what the ethics committee is all about.
Okay.
It would still need to be in its final form.
Yeah.
For 10 days, we still have to wait for 10 days.
Alternatively, obviously, as Legislator Sage pointed out, you could be passed as this, and then a subsequent, effort to amend it could be presented. So, it's just a matter of semantics, which.
Yeah, sure. Legislator Regan.
Thank you, Chairman. Slightly trumped by legislative council right there, I'd like to reiterate that point, is that we have the opportunity to pass what has come out of committee right now, and then subsequently, if we feel necessary to make any changes, as compared to kicking it back to committee and then delaying the process, which will inevitably provide opportunity for more discussion and some other amendment that will just confuse the process and delay it and delay it and delay it. I urge my colleagues to vote for the proposition in front of us tonight as written, and if significant changes or any changes need to be made after the fact, we will then at least walk out of here tonight having an ethics committee structure established. And I encourage my colleagues to vote in that manner. Thank you.
Seeing no other comments on the amendment, I would just like to make a comment. I'm going to vote no on the amendment to echo a little bit about what Tommy was saying. If we pass this amendment out of tonight, it'll go back to committee and it'll have to be reconciled, because right now, if the amendment is left as it is, we will have an even more internally inconsistent local law, because Romanet I does not match letter A. And I don't think we should make the perfect the enemy of the good. I was very interested and very much in favor of the resolution that came out of the Rules Committee meeting. I voted for it. I agree with Legislator Regan that if, to the extent we want to make any changes with this going forward, we can do that at some future date. It could even be the next Rules Committee meeting. But we do not have a functioning ethics board now. There's 5 members positioned. We only have 2 members currently serving on it. So I'm going to be voting no, and I would encourage my colleagues to vote no as well. And that's what I can say about that. Sure.
Just want to speak on that too. You know, the process still hasn't been set up as to how it's going to roll out even once we have a functioning ethics board. The process of how, if this passes tonight as is, we don't have a process. So we don't and won't have we still have to go through all of that through rules and through committee and go through that whole hoopla too. So let's look at the process as well that follows the amendment that we're passing. So realistically, we have two big things to work on, and I think we should do it right instead of doing it kind of halfway right. And I like to see that everybody's involved in the process and leave politics at the door. That's it, period, end of story for me. If you don't have a process, you have nothing.
Thank you. I think we can all agree we want to leave politics at the door. I don't think any of the 8 of us, and certainly any of the 9 of us, would want to have politics enter into this. But I would make a note that the status quo, the way it operates right now, is that there is an ad hoc process for the selection or the call for nominations or the call for applications to serve on this. It is a process that was created and done, not necessarily a bad one, but even if we stick with the status quo, that process you're talking about still wouldn't be fixed. So we can either, as Legislator Regan said, keep trying to tinker with this until it is everything every angel in heaven would want to vote for. But we're not angels, we're humans. And the best thing we can do as a government is pass something that I view, and again, I'm just 1 out of 9, but something that I think as written right now is a lot better than the process we have now. And that's just my opinion. That doesn't mean I'm right, doesn't mean anyone else is wrong. So seeing, I'll let you have the last word. Go ahead. Last word.
It's just, it gives us 4 separate entities that are going to be making 4 separate groups. So we have the chairman, we have the majority or the minority leader, we have the rest of the legislative body at large, and then we have the county executive. So we're put in 4 groups of making decisions, which becomes a little, I don't know.
Democratic?
No crosstalk, please.
I just think it becomes a lot more process than things happen. I think when we've talked about different things in the past, at legislative council, Tony, Legislator Anizio, spoke about how they all sat in a room together and went through and interviewed everybody together. I don't think that's a bad thing. That's democratic, that's democracy, that's having good conversation and talking it through, and it's not putting people in these cells and figuring out who's getting who. And I think that leaves you actually more to wanting to do favors for people when you do separate people out like that. I see that happening, and or it could happen. I'm not accusing. I'm just saying you have a better chance of people, granting favors and doing whatever when you separate people out like that, instead of just having the legislator. We make decisions all the time as a body, and that's what we're here for, at large. We have 3 seats at the table that we didn't have before, and it gives the county executive 2. I don't see that as a bad thing. And then the process could be simpler instead of having to, we do have an ad hoc, process like you said, but then it's separated into 4 different sections.
Thank you. We're going to move on to a vote now. I think every legislator has spoken. Did you speak on the amendment? I don't think you did. You spoke on something outside the amendment. I don't want to step.
This
Is this
might
on
be
the
outside
amendment?
the amendment.
Okay. What I'd like to do is have a roll call vote on this, keeping in mind there needs to be 5 votes in order for this amendment to pass.
Roll call on the amendment.
Just on the amendment, yes. Then we'll go back to the main question. Thank you, Bill.
Legislator Adnesio, Legislator Crowley,
Yes.
Legislator D'Angelo,
No.
Legislator Goulman,
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery,
No.
Legislator Regan,
No.
Legislator Russo,
Yes.
Legislator Sage,
I'm going to vote no, because I think we need a board. We need a board.
no.
Yeah.
Chairman Birmingham.
No. Motion to amend fails. I'd like to go to Legislator Russo. She had brought up a point with respect to Romanet I. I think you wanted to conform it to paragraph A, I recall, with respect to the point. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, that's exactly, it appears that it's a typo, because it doesn't say chair of the legislature, it just says chair legislature. So that seat number 4, if you go to paragraph A, was clearly defined as a simple majority vote of the full legislature.
So just to get it on paper, would your amendment be to change under Roman I, letter number 4, instead of seat 4 shall be selected by the chair of legislature, it should say seat 4 shall be selected by the full legislature?
Correct.
And again, when we say selections in that paragraph, what we mean there are nominations. Take a look at Roman I, the selections for nominations. So just want to be clear. So is that your amendment?
Yes, please.
I'll second that. Is there any discussion on that amendment? And again, we've been advised by our counsel that that would be more of a scrivener's amendment, nothing that would change the substance of the overall local law. Seeing no comments on this amendment only, I would ask the clerk to call roll. Roll call vote.
Legislator Agnizio, Legislator Crowley,
Yes.
Legislator D'Angelo,
Yes.
Legislator Goulman,
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery,
Yes.
Legislator Regan,
Yes.
Legislator Russo,
Yes.
Legislator Sage,
Yes.
Chairman Birmingham.
Yes. Okay, now we have an amended slightly local law before us. We're back on the main question. Any legislator care to weigh in on the main resolution local law before us? Legislator Gould.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm in a unique situation amongst this group. I am a party chairperson, and I am a legislator, the only one in this group that is. So because of that, I would not want to have control of making a decision on putting someone on a legislative ethics board. Currently, approximately 1/3 of the voting in Putnam County is Republican, approximately 1/3 is Democrat, and approximately 1/3 is non-registered or a third party. So if we were to pick if all 9 members are in one party, whether it's Republican or Democrat, doesn't want to make a difference, and we pick someone outside of that and let the party chair of whatever that party is to make a decision, what you're doing here is you're allowing basically 1/3 of the voting bloc to add someone onto there who is not an elected official, who is a party elected official. And it's not the same thing. So, number A, where it says, if the legislature is controlled by only one political party, the nomination shall instead be made by a leader of the largest non-controlling political party based on voter registration. I'd like to scratch that for the reasons I just mentioned. If we really want to not make this political, if we really want to do the right thing by the people of Putnam County, we would scratch this.
Is that an amendment, Legislator Gould?
Repeat that?
I'm sorry, are you making an amendment?
Yes.
Is there a second to that amendment?
Second.
Any discussion on the amendment? If I understand Bill correctly, you want to strike in 55-12, paragraph A, 5 lines down on the right, if the legislature is controlled by only one political party, the nomination shall instead be made by the leader of the largest non-controlling political party based on voter registration. You want to strike that. Just so we all know what the amendment is. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on that amendment? Legislator Regan.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to read the definition of nominate for those who can't seem to grasp the concept. Nominate means to officially propose or suggest someone as a candidate for an elected job, position, or honor, which is subsequently then to be approved. Again, any attempt to modify significantly the local law at this point can only be interpreted as an obstruction, an attempt to stifle progress. And if I was a person who was perhaps running for office, I don't know that I would go and be the champion of somebody who is particularly going to great lengths to stifle the process of establishing an ethics board. But that would be me. Thank you, Chairman. I yield.
Legislator D'Angelo, then anyone who hasn't spoken yet on the amendment. Legislator D'Angelo, Legislator Russo, then Legislator Gould.
Well, so I don't entirely disagree with the amendment. I think, you know, my biggest concern is keeping the train on its tracks, right, and creating this ethics board that stipulation only exists if we don't have a elected member of this legislature who belongs to a minority party, which is not the case. It's not a problem we'll be finding ourselves, having right now. This at least creates a functioning board because, without getting into the weeds of it, we have, open ethics complaints for years now. I think we have to have a functioning ethics board. The people of Putnam County deserve it. That's a non-negotiable. And I think there was other amendments that I think we can, down the road, also discuss and talk about without having to delay the actual creation of this board. I really urge my colleagues to do that. We need to create this. And, other changes to it down the line can happen. I'm not opposed to it one way or the other, but we certainly need to create an ethics board and a functioning ethics board that is equitable between both branches.
Thank you. Legislator Russo, then Legislator Goldman, then Legislator Crowley.
Thank you. So during the last proposed amendment, it was discussed that this should not be political. And now we are going to try to approve having a political position based on party nominate a person who would probably be of that political party, but that political person is not elected by the entire Putnam County. They're elected by their own party. So we have to either sit here and discuss politics or non-politics. We can't have a little bit of each. So to me, it doesn't make sense to keep this line in, and I seconded Legislator Goldman's amendment. Let's get down to basics. Politics or no politics. Thank you.
Thank you. Legislator Goldman, then Legislator Crowley, then Legislator Montgomery. All of these discussions are on the amendment. Legislator Goldman.
I have to chuckle a little bit when my colleague says that some individuals are trying to be obstructionists with this ethics board. I don't know. I remember when we were dealing with the legislative manual, when it was pushed down our throats in January, and then it took 9 months for us to play the game to get it correct. And then 9 months later, what did we do? We went back to the same thing we had in December. So if you want to call something obstructionist, please, remember what we did during the legislative manual debate. That was obstructionist. And it wasn't from the individuals who were discussing this right here. It was from other people, okay? So let's be real about this. You want to make it political? Let's make it political. You want to get it right? This is how you get it right. Having discussions like this, not calling people obstructionists or things of that nature. Let's get it right. Do the things that make it correct so it doesn't have to be corrected again next year, 6 months from now, 5 years from now. That's all.
Thank you. Legislator Crowley, then Legislator Montgomery.
On this amendment, but even talking in the future, anytime we amend this is a little while. It's always going to take 10 days, it's going to sit in the box, it's going to have to go through the same process every single time. So we talk about going, rolling, let's get this passed through, and rolling it down the hill. It's going to go through the same procedure every single time. So why not just get it right the first time? Why are we playing games? Why don't we talk this out? We've talked, I'm sorry, I have to agree with what Bill just said. We've done this 100 times, and we've got it wrong, and we've had to start at the drawing board again. I think there's nothing wrong with us having a good discussion and coming up with the right solution and the right wording. And again, leaving politics at the door. If we want a good ethics committee, we should know what your political standing is. We might, because maybe we know you from a committee, and the one member who did step up to do it was transparent enough to put it on there. He was called out for doing so, for being honest and having integrity, even though there were 2 more steps that would follow if he was put through that committee that night. It would have to be confirmed by the legislature that
You
it's
can keep it
signed.
on the amendment.
I'm just saying,
Just
get
like-
it right the first time and let's stop playing games. Leave politics at the door. This is not where ethics and politics don't go hand in hand. This should be a separate body that is chosen by the integrity of the person, the resume of the person, and the quality of the person walking through the door. Period, end of story.
Thank you, and I just would like to remind my colleagues, right now, we're just talking on the amendment, and there's a time.
I agree with Bill.
Thank you. Legislator Montgomery.
I Thanks. I would just like to clarify something that my colleague, Legislator Russo said. I'm not sure if I heard it right, that, you know, if we do this, that person, when we're talking about politics, and it doesn't say politics in here, it doesn't say Democrat or Republican, it says minority leader. So my question is, did you say that person's only elected by their party, and therefore that would, in essence, make this a political, you know, power move?
Correct?
I'm elected by Republicans, conservatives, and Democrats. I don't know how it works in your town, but I get votes. And this document clearly says minority leader. It doesn't say Democratic leader. And I think my colleagues on this legislature who are opposed to this, yes, are obstructing it because of a political nature. It's just because of the very nature of giving a minority leader an opportunity to come to the table. And that's what you're obstructing, and that's what this county and your party has a history of doing. So I would like to just make it clear that I'm not just elected by Democrats. In my town, I'm elected by conservatives, Republicans, and Democrats, and I really appreciate the Republicans who come to me in my town and appreciate my work. Thank you.
Can I clarify what this says, not what I'm saying?
Yes, Legislator Russo, then Legislator Goldman, and then Legislator D'Angelo. And then I'd like to move to the amendment question. Legislator Russo, Goldman, and D'Angelo. Laura?
So this is not, you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm reading
That's what I asked.
that this said, I'm not, if there is a one-party legislature, which would mean 9 of one party, this line would send a pick to the non-controlling political party leader, which I would assume is not one of us legislators. It would be an outside political party, whether it's Democrat or Republican, and it would be the chair of that party. So it would not be a legislator who is elected by all the constituents. It would be only, whether it's Democrat Party, their chairperson is only selected by the Democrats. If it's Republicans, it would be only the Republicans pick the chair of their party, not us here.
Appreciate that.
No.
I assumed you were talking about the minority leader.
Absolutely not.
Legislator Goldman, and then I'd like Legislator D'Angelo, and then Legislator Reed.
Based on what my colleague on the right said just now, I don't have anything to say about that. But she was thinking it was a different thing. This right here basically says party chair of whatever party that is. And as a party chair, I should not have the responsibility of picking someone to sit on the ethics board, because who would I pick? What do you think? The person from my political party. It'd be suicide if I were to pick someone from another political party. Same thing from people on the other political party. So that's what would happen. It should not be a chair of a political party.
All right, we're going to do Legislator D'Angelo, Reed, and Montgomery, and I just want to wrap up. Again, we're just talking about the amendment, folks, so let's focus on the amendment.
Yeah, I just wanted to make just a simple point, because I think it is getting a little off the rails. So I mentioned this isn't a revolutionary idea, and it can be tinkered with, but it's important to remember the Board of Elections, the commissioners of the Board of Elections are nominated by political parties and approved, political parties are not approved by the legislature. And if the legislature is all one party, the legislature doesn't have a right to weigh in. They're approved. This is the ethics board. This is a simple what if, by the way, because we have a Democrat, sitting on the legislature. So this is really a simple what if. Say the what if happens and the party leader nominates somebody. The whole legislature still has to vote and say yes or no. We don't get, they don't get to just put that person in. We still have to have at least 5 people agree on this person. So I think that's just maybe my observation. It's not exactly revolutionary. It exists in some way, shape, or form, and I just maintain the opinion that we need to create an ethics board here, and we can make some changes down the line if we have to.
Thank you, Legislator Reed, and then Legislator Montgomery. Then I'd like to say a few words on the amendment. Legislator Reed.
Thank you, Chairman. And as towards the amendment, as much as we like to say we want politics removed from it or pretend that's a dirty word, is that regardless of the circumstances, any county executive or any chairman of the legislature is going to have a political party. For us to, which would be ideal, think that there are 10 John Cardinal O'Connors out there who will give nominations for us completely unconnected to any party whatsoever, it's fictional. That's not going to happen. So we have to recognize, as much as we would like to keep politics out of it, is that there's going to be some politics involved regardless, because of with the way that we're constructing this right now, with the county executive, the members of the legislature, the chair of the legislature, and the head of the party that's not in power, which is not, to that point, it's not going to happen in the foreseeable future. Even after the next election, the numbers likely are not to change in effect that we have an absolute majority here in the legislature. So pertaining to the current amendment, I compel my colleagues again to realize, as much as we want to remove politics from it, no matter how much we change the verbiage or kick this can down the road for another 30, 60, 90, 120 days, it's never going to be completely removed of politics, regardless of how much we change the words. Somebody is going to be a politician who's going to be part of the nomination process here. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Legislator Montgomery.
Actually, I think Legislator D'Angelo clarified it regarding the Board of Elections and how the parties nominate their choice commissioner. That's pretty clear, right? Am I right that we do that?
Yes, as a point of information, and I've been through this a couple of times in my prior service, we take the recommendation of party leaders for commissioners of elections under consideration. And that is not very different from what's being proposed here.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I got that right.
Thank you. What I'd like to do is wrap up on this amendment and just give a little bit of history here and hopefully a little perspective. It's 2026, and the people of Putnam County approved our charter in 1977, which is almost 50 years ago. And in that time, this legislature has only had, of those almost 50 years, only one period in time of 3.5 years where this legislature was completely made up of one party. And that was between the years 2015 and 2018. That was between the time when it was all Republican, and it was between the time of Legislator Montgomery and Legislator Goldman's immediate predecessors. Sam left this legislature in 2014. That's when you came on. I believe you came on in 2019. Well, I'm sorry, he was a Democrat, yes, but then when he left, Bill came on, and your predecessor was a Republican. So that was only for 4 years out of almost 50. So we should keep in mind here that what we're really, and I'm glad we're taking the time to talk about it, I'm glad we're talking about it in the public so the public can see what we're talking about. But we should keep in mind this is only for a nomination to one seat on an ethics board, that this legislature, no matter its makeup, can either accept or decline. So keeping those numbers in mind, I'm going to advocate on this amendment that my colleagues vote no, because it's a pinhole instance that can happen. Our history shows us that less than 10% of the entire existence of this legislature have we had an instance where there's been one party. And since these are 2-year terms, in those instances, that would only happen at maximum once in that 4-year period, had it happened again. So I'm going to call the question on the amendment. We can come back and talk generally about the local law in any other respect, but I'd like to call the question on that. And it's on the amendment as proposed by Legislator Goldman and seconded by Legislator Russo. Again, it's to modify paragraph A to take out the party leader position. I'll ask for a roll call vote, please, on the amendment.
Legislator Agnizio, Legislator Crowley,
Yes.
Legislator D'Angelo,
No.
Legislator Goldman,
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery,
No.
Legislator Regan,
No.
Legislator Russo,
Yes.
Legislator Sage,
No.
Chairman Birmingham.
No. Motion fails. Motion fails. We're back on the main local law before us. Further comment, Legislator Crowell.
I make a motion to table this. It seems like there's a lot of things that need to be worked out, and I don't think that we're getting anywhere. I think this needs to be done with respect to everybody here and to the constituents we represent.
Is there a second on the motion table?
Second.
I don't believe that's subject to debate, is it? I don't think it is.
No.
It's not. So we have to call the question on the motion to table. And we need 5 votes for this as well.
Legislator Adnesio, Legislator Crowley,
Yes.
Legislator D'Angelo,
No.
Legislator Goulman,
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery,
I can just correct, the correct term is postpone, not table. Table is only in an event of emergency, and I vote no.
Legislator Regan,
No.
Legislator Russo,
Yes.
Legislator Sage,
No.
and Chairman Birmingham.
No. Any other discussion on the local law before us? Seeing Legislator D'Angelo, did you have your
Yeah, just a point, I think, to my colleagues, I think both things can be true. We can create this tonight, and we can still talk about the changes that were proposed. But I think it's critical to our residents that we create an ethics board that functions. That, I don't think, should be a debate, and from what I hear from my colleagues, I think everyone agrees on that, that we need that, and so creating it now and having more conversations down the line, while we still have an ethics board in place at that time, I think is the right way to approach this. I don't think anyone's exactly disagreed with the amendments. I seem to think that it's a disagreement on postponing the passing of an ethics board.
Thank you. Legislator Sage.
Yeah, I've been back and forth with this, and I don't think it's perfect. I'm hinging on the fact that we need an ethics board. I would also, as we're amending, and I'm fully in favor of amending this, I think we need something now. If I vote yes on this now, I do think we need to address the transparency. I think that's a problem. Right now we have a call for members of the ethics board, and this legislature never gets to see the application. We never get to see who applies. We never get to weigh in on it. All we do is get the whatever the county executive picks. I think that verbiage needs to be in there, and I would like to take some edits to this at the Rules Committee. If this passes tonight. But I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I do think that we need an ethics board, and we need to get it started as soon as possible. There's people waiting for ethics right now.
Thank you. Seeing no other comment, just as a recap, we're voting on the local law as non-substantively amended with respect to Romanet I, with respect to the full legislature, just to conform it to paragraph A. So with that in front of us, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll. Roll call vote, please.
Legislator Adnesio, Legislator Crowley,
No.
Legislator D'Angelo,
Yes.
Legislator Goulman,
There are many defects in this, that's why I have to vote no.
Legislator Montgomery,
Yes.
Legislator Regan,
Yes.
Legislator Russo,
No.
Legislator Sage,
Yes.
and Chairman Birmingham.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. Legislator Sage, we're now on item 5E.
Agenda item 5E is a local law to amend the code of Putnam County of Putnam by adding chapter 222 entitled Transparency Act.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, Legislator Sage. Next, we have the Health, Educational, and Environmental Committee. I ask the chair of that committee, Legislator Montgomery, to read us through that agenda.
Sorry.
Take your time.
Thank you, Chairman. On behalf of the Health Committee and members Adnesio and Legislator Russo, we have first 5F, the approval for Hudson Valley Public Health Collaborative NYSACHO Immunization Action Plan Award.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
5G is a budgetary amendment 26A049, Public Health Director, New York State Association of Counties Immunization Action Plan Award.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And 5H, approval budgetary transfer for Public Health Director funding for Deputy Director position prorated effective June 1st, 2026.
Is there any discussion? I'd like to ask for a roll call vote on this, please.
Legislator Agnizio? Legislator Crowley?
Yes.
Legislator D'Angelo?
Yes.
Legislator Woolman?
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery?
Oh, no.
Legislator Regan?
Yes.
Legislator Russo?
Yes.
Legislator Sage?
Yes.
Chairman Birmingham?
No.
Motion carries.
That takes us through the Health Committee meeting. Next, we'll go to the Protective Services Committee, chaired by Legislator Regan. Tom?
Thank you, Chairman. On behalf of myself and legislators Agnizio, Montgomery, bring forth the following item from the Protective Services Committee. Item number tonight 5I, approval budgetary amendment 26A046. Sheriff's Department use of T Commission reserve funds purchase furniture for renovated conference room, discussed in committee and submitted for approval. Zero fiscal impact.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Next item on our agenda is item 5J, approval of budgetary amendment 26A050, Commissioner Bureau of Emergency Services, account for statewide interoperable communications targeted grant received, reviewed in committee and brought forth for approval with zero fiscal impact.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Next item is item 5K, approval of no-match grant application, Bureau of Emergency Services, SFY 2025 and SFY 2026, Statewide Interoperable Communications Grant, SIG program, brought forth after approval through the committee and submitted for approval.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Next item is 5L, approval, no match grant application, Bureau of Emergency Services, SFY 2025 and SFY 2026, Public Safety Answering Point Operations Grant Program, approved through committee and submitted for approval.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next item up is 5M, approval confirmation of reappointments, Putnam County Emergency Services Safety Advisory Board. Residents Cuomo, DiMarco, Prentice, and Lewis are up for reappointment, reviewed at committee and submitted for approval.
Thank you. Any discussion? I would just like to thank these gentlemen for their service to the county. It's a volunteer position. They do a great job and very needed and vital service that they provide. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Next item is 5N, approval confirmation appointment new to Putnam County Emergency Services Safety Advisory Board, Bradley, reviewed in committee, submitted for approval.
Any discussion? Of course, we'd like to thank Mr. Bradley as well for his service or for his future service. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Tom. That takes care of the Protective Services Committee. Next is our Physical Services Committee, headed up by Legislator Goldman. Bill?
Thank you, Chairman. Item number 5O, we have a budgetary amendment 26A047. This is from Finance for the Civil Legislature. We have received a generous donation from the National Society for the Daughters of the American Revolution, Ancro Crosby Chapter, for $1,000 and a $150 donation from Vincent Dacquino. I believe that's how I pronounce his name. We would like to thank you for your donations.
Indeed. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 5P, we have an approval for budgetary amendment 26A048. This resolution is required to fund costs incurred for the Maybrook Bikeway 2, Phase A, PIN number 8756.84. It is for $437,960.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 5Q, we have an approval for a utility easement for the Carmel tax map number 53.19-1-012 and 64.7-1-5. This is for the NYSACHO power line relocation at the Slocum Avenue Bridge Replacement Project.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 5R, we have an approval to rescind resolution number 319 of 2019 and number 280 of 2021 to authorize the sale of county property pursuant to Chapter 31 of the Putnam County Code, which is at 34 Oneida Avenue, for the town of Carmel for $600,000.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 5S, we have an approval from the Planning Department, Putnam County's annual Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan update in conformance with and as required by United States DOT Final Rule 49 C.F.R. Part 673.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We do this annually. It is that time of year where we add parcels of land into the Putnam County Agricultural District. We have an approval for a SICG for the Putnam County Agricultural District. The New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets as lead agency for the Agricultural Districts program. The Putnam County Agricultural and Farmland Protection Board received 10 applications during the April 2026 Agricultural District inclusion period. Site visits were conducted during May of 2026, and the PSAP met on Wednesday, May 27th, to vote on the applications, the approval, and they approved all 10 of these parcels.
Thank you. Any discussion? Just a note, this resolution here for my colleagues as well as everybody in the audience, this is merely the environmental review of the parcels that have been submitted. By voting in favor of this SECR resolution, State Environmental Quality Review Act, just means that this legislature has taken the required hard look with respect to the environmental impact of all of the parcels. Legislator Goldman will lead us through each of those parcels in the next items, but voting on this is just an environmental review of those parcels. Does not necessarily mean that one or more or any of the parcels will be approved. So just a little policy there, a little practical. So any further discussion on the SECR review for these parcels? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're going to move into 10 parcels. Item number 5U, we have an approval to include parcels in the Putnam County Agricultural District for the town of Kent. The Ferguson Farm, parcel ID number 43.2-13, total acreage 7 acres.
Any discussion? We can go through a roll call vote on all these if that's okay. Roll call vote.
Legislator Agnizio, Legislator Crowley.
Yes.
Legislator D'Angelo.
Yes.
Legislator Goldman.
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery.
Yes.
Legislator Regan.
Yes.
Legislator Russo.
Yes.
Legislator Sage.
Yes.
Chairman Birmingham.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item number 5V. We have an approval to include parcels in the Putnam County Agricultural District for the town of Kent and Carmel. Crooked Fence Farm, parcel ID 43.2-44, totaling of 104.53 acres. In addition to that, parcel number 43.1-33, total acreage 7.66 acres.
Any discussion on this item? I'll again ask for a roll call vote.
Legislator Agonisio, Legislator Crowley,
Yes.
Legislator D'Angelo,
Yes.
Legislator Bullman,
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery,
Yes.
Legislator Regan,
Yes.
Legislator Russo,
Yes.
Legislator Sage,
Yes.
Chairman Birmingham.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, item number 5X. You have an approval to include parcels in the Putnam County Agricultural District for the town of Patterson. The 84 Ludingtonville Road LLC. Parcel number,
LITC 5W.
I'm sorry, what did I? 5W?
5W?
Yes.
Sorry. We'll go back to 5W. We have an approval to include parcels in Putnam County Agricultural District, the town of Qual. That's Tea Kettle Farm, parcel ID 372000, space 76.17-1-6. Total acreage 4.34. I'm sorry, 4.37. Thank you.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Legislator Agonisio, Legislator Crowley,
Yes.
Legislator D'Angelo,
Yes.
Legislator Bullman,
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery,
Yes.
Legislator Regan,
Yes.
Legislator Russo,
Yes.
Legislator Sage,
Yes.
Chairman Birmingham.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Now we're back on track. Sorry for that. Item number 5X. We have an approval to include parcels in the Putnam County Agricultural District for the town of Patterson. The 84 Ludingtonville Road LLC, parcel ID 22.12-1-5. Total acreage 1.19.
Any discussion? Legislator Sage.
I did have the opportunity to go along with the ethics
Ag Board.
Ag Board to view all these properties. I would like to preface this by saying that whether you're voted in or you're not voted in, you still can farm, you still can do your activities, you can still grow your crops, you can still build your greenhouse. It all has to be done within the code and the zoning of the town. This particular property, I'll just be transparent, I did vote for this during the Ag Board vote. I'm not going to change my vote. I think they have a great drain, but I don't, in my opinion, and I'm not going to say anything to anybody else, but in my opinion, it wasn't farmed yet. And I think this property owner can certainly come back next year if they don't get in. But that being said, they can still continue with their farming operations. I don't want to discourage anyone from farming, but I'm not going to support this one.
Any further discussion? Legislator Russo.
Thank you. Last year, I had the opportunity to review all the farms, and I went with the Ag Board's decision 100%. But I did go out and look at some of the farms, and I agreed. This year, I'm very disappointed that a few of the farms passed through the Ag Board. I did go check out this property multiple times. I'm honestly very disappointed. I don't understand. I don't think the property is large enough. It's too close to the neighbor. It's too close to the road. If they were to put a greenhouse in, it would be right up against the neighbor. If they were to put an additional greenhouse on the building, I think the building would need to be totally knocked down and renovated because it looks like it's a 4-car garage. And I don't think the building itself as it stands would sustain the weight of a greenhouse. And then if they were to get produce and put a little farm stand at the road, there's no place for cars to pull over they would have to pull into the driveway, which is a shared driveway with the neighbor. There is an easement, but the driveway is not as wide as it was originally written on paperwork. I took pictures out there. I put my car in the driveway. You wouldn't be able to put two cars side by side, so the cars would have to line all the way up the driveway to the neighbor, and then that would impede the neighbor from pulling into their own property. So for multiple reasons, I'm going to have to be a no on this property.
Legislator Reed.
Thank you, Chairman. A sincere and significant thank you to Legislators Russo and Sage for going out and seeing these properties. I wish I wish I could have visited each and every one, but I very much appreciate your input and your time that you've both taken to relay this information to us. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I just have a comment based on comments I've heard, and I just want to make it clear again. If there is a greenhouse that is going to be built on this property, towns still have zoning and enforcement authority. Local governments can exercise those powers in a way that supports their goals. Our goal here is to support agriculture, and all we do is say, is this viable agricultural land? And I think the Agricultural Board researched this extensively and determined and voted that it was. As far as pulling over on the side of the road, I don't think there's any code or law that says you can't. So, you know, my interest is always in what are the laws and what are we telling people or assuming? What are we assuming that people can and can't do? And the comments that I hear are assuming that something is going to happen, and even if it does happen, it's actually still legal. So I can't, in my good conscience, deny someone entrance into this agricultural district based on something I'm going to assume that might not be true. Again, towns still have the power to enforce their codes. Building codes don't go away. I mean, I think the bottom line is what is the benefit of being in an agricultural district? It's protection from unreasonably restrictive laws. So the neighbor, the town, the property owner that is applying still has the recourse to go to the state and appeal. I mean, what we're doing is just supporting agriculture.
Thank you. Any other discussion or comment on this parcel? I do have a question for legislative counsel. And I'm not sure it's this parcel. Was there an application out of one of the 10 that was submitted that did not mark? I heard the word easement. That's the only reason that raises my question. Was there one or more parcels that applied that have an easement to a parcel? And is this that parcel where it was not marked on the application?
No, I believe it was a private easement. I don't believe it was like a county easement. I don't know. You understand what I'm saying? Like a shared, I believe it was a shared driveway.
Right.
And I don't know where it got.
This isn't that property.
This is not that.
Yeah, that is not this property, but there was, I think the question was there such a property? Yes, there was such a property, but it was not this property, is my understanding.
Thank you. It is.
And the easement was not a public easement, it was a private easement.
Right, for some.
Shared driveway.
For a neighbor.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's not just, have we voted on that one yet?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay, you can let me know. If you can let me know which one it is, Legislator Sage.
Thank you. This property does have a shared driveway with their neighbor, so there are, the neighbor has an easement on this particular driveway. So yes, this is a property that does have an easement. They do share the driveway with their neighbor. And also, just additional full transparency, at the Ag Board, we did vote on this the first time and it failed. We went through, voted on all the other properties again, came back to this one and asked for a second vote. So some people changed their votes. I did not, but some people changed their votes and it did pass. But that's just being fully transparent with the process. Just thought.
Thank you. Thank you. From my perspective, just 1 out of 9, a shared driveway with an easement isn't necessarily a disqualifier for me, but, and the reason I asked Legislative Counsel that question is that I believe there was one application that hadn't marked, when they were asked was there an easement, they had marked no. Not this parcel, I'm hearing, but...
No, I actually do think it is this parcel.
Oh,
so
it is.
That it's the driveway, but they asked, they misunderstood the question because it was asked if they had an easement and they don't, it's they allowed a shared driveway. It's because they were reading that to mean public easement.
Oh,
So
okay.
it was a misapprehension which they clarified upon once it was raised.
And the Ag Board did not have access to that information when they passed this. They passed the application with a mismarked application.
Well, I mean,
Whether it was an innocent misunderstanding or not.
well, whether or not it's them granting the easement. They were the people granting the easement, the people applying. It was not that it was not the other way around.
Chairman, the applicant is the holder of the easement,
Okay.
and it is his property. I misunderstood.
It is. Okay.
So they personally do not have an easement. They granted an easement.
Got it. And that makes, for me, makes a difference. Well, the fact that the application, maybe technical defect is too strong of a word, but the fact that the application had an innocent technical defect at the time our volunteer professional board reviewed it and approved it, for me, just 1 out of 9, I'm not trying to coach my colleagues into voting one way or the other, but for me, that makes a difference.
The Ag Board was made aware of this, and they provided an update to that effect to the legislature. So they were aware of it, and they updated us.
But the Ag Board's vote was taken at a time when they were unaware of it.
Twice.
That's
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on this particular parcel? I'd ask for a roll call vote.
Legislator Adizio, Legislator Crowley.
No.
Legislator D'Angelo,
Yeah.
Legislator Woolman,
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery,
Yes.
Legislator Regan,
No.
Legislator Russo,
No.
Legislator Sage,
No.
Chairman Birmingham.
No.
Motion passed.
Okay, item number 5Y. We have an approval to include parcels in the Putnam County Agricultural District in the town of Patterson. High Point Equestrian. Parcel ID 372400-36.3-10. Total acreage 75,000.
Any discussion on item 5Y? Roll call vote. Oh, sorry, Legislator Russo, I apologize.
Again, I apologize to the Ag Board, but I don't know if they were aware of items when they approved the property. I think there was some wetlands that was cut down, and the owner has since apologized and said they would no longer do that. However, I drive by the facility pretty much every day. I am pro-farming, and I'm way pro-horse. I grew up with horses, I've owned horses. I wish I had a farm to have horses now. So I am pro-farm, and the problem with this property that I see is there's a lot of stuff going on there that is not related to horses. There's car carriers going in and out of the property, there's trucks and different vehicles that are going in and out that I feel have nothing to do with horses or delivering hay or anything like that. I'm a little leery of what is going on. They can still operate their farm, but I would vote no this time so that they can get better equipped, they can figure out what they really want to do with their facility, and then maybe get included at another time.
Thank you. Any other comments on this portion? Legislator Montgomery.
Yeah, again, I have to, and I'll make a general statement again. An agricultural district does not approve a particular land use or exempt property from local zoning. Wetlands are highly regulated by New York State and the town. Every town has a wetlands inspector. When that is violated, they get issued a violation and have to correct it. That's true for any landowner, whether it's in an ag district or just your regular home. So ag districts recognize viable agricultural land and provide state law protections intended to conserve farmland, support farm operations, and ensure that local regulation does not unreasonably burden agriculture. Towns, counties, applicants, neighboring property owners, and the state all have a role in making that framework. I'd like to be partners with every town and the state and the county, and I think that's what we've been trying to do. Now with the help of a newer ag board that's actually, and a legislature that's actually going to allow the ag board to go to municipalities and provide some education for them, not throw the chairperson of the ag board off just because she attempted to provide education to the municipalities. So, you know, we're working really hard to provide knowledge to the towns with the help of the state. And I feel like we're really working on building those partnerships. What I'm reading in various documents is still clearly the fact that there's not an understanding by local towns, or even like this document from the opposition to this particular application, because they're in this legal document from Keen and Bean, they're referring to, I'm sorry, I'll say that for that one. But, so again, in general, we still have the protections of the towns in the code, and if towns need stronger protections, then they should revise the code. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this parcel, Legislator Sage?
Yeah, I did, I visited all the properties. When we spoke to the owner of this particular farm, and it is a horse farm, it's very clearly a horse farm. That was one of the first things that he stated when we came in, was he said, the town let me know that I violated wetlands protection. I certainly didn't realize that at the time. I think he's on the property for maybe 2 years. They dealt with it at the time when they needed to. It was the first thing he said to us. So he's aware of it. We looked at his, I know this doesn't sound sexy, but we looked at his manure, where he's depositing that. It doesn't leak into his wetlands. He's very cognizant of his farming operations. And I'll tell you one thing about all these property owners. They are there to take care of the land. They're really caretakers of the land, and they care about where they live. They care about the animals and the property and the local landscape, and I felt that with this property, so I'd be very much in favor of this particular property.
Thank you. Any other comments from legislators on item 5Y? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Legislator Avenazio, Legislator Crowley,
Yes.
Legislator D'Angelo,
Yes.
Legislator Woolman,
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery,
Yes.
Legislator Regan,
Yes.
Legislator Russo,
No.
Legislator Sage,
Yes.
Chairman Birmingham.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 5Z. We have approval to include parcels in the Putnam County Agricultural District for the town of Patterson. The Hidden Hope Farm, parcel ID 24.-1-62, total acreage 18.61 acres.
Thank you. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Legislator Avenazio, Legislator Crowley,
Yes.
Legislator D'Angelo,
Yes.
Legislator Woolman,
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery,
Yes.
Legislator Regan,
Yes.
Legislator Russo,
Yes.
Legislator Sage,
Putnam County Agricultural District for the town of Southeast, CQW.LLC, parcel number 68.13-1-1.2, total acres 20.69 acres.
Any discussion? Legislator Reed.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a question. Any of my colleagues have visited this site? Any information to be shared? Would be appreciated.
Legislator.
I was able to visit this property. There have been so many improvements, and it's absolutely a stunning property. It is in a residential neighborhood, but they do have plenty of land. This land has been approved, in my estimation. It's a benefit to our beautiful Putnam County. The owner of the property is very cognizant of her neighbors. She's very cognizant of the land, and is very aware of the landscape, and she's complied with everything the town has asked of her. And as far as I'm concerned, I had no issues with this particular property.
Thank you. Any other comments from my colleagues? Legislator Crowley.
I wanted to clarify, I know there was the attorney from Keenan Bean, and I understand the property owner did go and fill out the application this morning for permitting, which...
I don't believe that's this parcel.
Sorry.
I could be wrong, but I don't believe it's this
It
parcel.
is this parcel, but it is, yeah, it's this
Oh, it is?
parcel. Yeah,
Speak into the mic.
Sorry. Oh, it's my own fault. So on this parcel, from what I understand, that the owner did go and fill out the application for permitting once she was told. So is there, I just want to understand, is there a violation on this property, or is there not a violation on this property? Because there was no, I just want to understand it and hear it from anybody has any feedback, because this permitting was not done properly through the town.
I have nothing to add to that. I don't know if anybody else does. Legislator Sage.
Always in the past on the ag board, when someone applies for an ag designation, it's up to the towns to do their job before the fact. And I don't know if the ag board is even aware of anything. After they apply, I think it's unfair for them to come to the farmer and say, well, you've done this and this and this to keep them out specifically. But I don't think at the time, I don't know if that's happening here, I really have no idea. But I just like to say at the time, we have no idea that there were anything.
I think that was brought to our attention today, so I think she did go and fill out the application. From what I understood, that was the case then. That it wasn't informing to the town, once it was brought to the applicant's attention, she did go immediately to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if a violation was issued or not, I just am putting that out there, that that's what I learned, and that's it. So, I don't know what happened between the town and the applicant. I don't know if there was communication or not communication. I just know that did happen. I think I'm factual on that.
Thank you. Before I go to Legislator Regan, I do want to, just for clarification, I did misspeak. This is the parcel that we had some discussion, or we heard some discussion at the public hearing. So I just wanted to clarify that. Legislator Regan.
Thank you, Chairman. And as much as it seems to relate to this exact piece of property, I'd like to reiterate my concern on your objection to what we are given here today. So at 3:42 p.m., we have upwards of what feels about 20 pages from an attorney, of which we were not afforded the opportunity to soak in that information that's relative to our vote right now. And it also seems that the resident has sent an email this afternoon as well. So it's unfortunate that we not afforded the time to soak all this in to, perhaps help us have a better understanding of how our vote is. But this continues to happen with late forwarded information on this. But I don't have an answer on that one.
No,
just a notation that there's a lot of information here that I myself don't have time to soak in before casting my vote. Thank you.
I can completely understand, and it's a rather unique situation. We do have generally a rule for our legislative meetings, this meeting, that we have a couple.
It sounds like you're dealing with this.
But with public hearings, we try to give it a bit more latitude. Obviously, I don't think any of us can be blamed not for reading it in its entirety. Because I had a little bit more time, I did digest some of what was in the, I did read through it, but I can understand people. I commute to this meeting as well as I know you do, so I completely understand.
If that's the case, then I would ask the chairman to please opine like they did my colleague over there. Please, if you have input or thought on what you've read, can you please share that with us?
Well, sure, I'll as I can on any vote. I think I'm going to vote against this because of both sides. We heard both parties here this evening. I think some good points were made on both sides. I hear what you're saying about more need to digest the copious amount of information we've received on this parcel, and as Legislator Sage said earlier, a no vote tonight, and I'm not saying we're going to have 5 no votes tonight, I'm just saying I'm going to vote no. That does not preclude or disqualify anyone from applying next year. So with that, I'm going to be voting no because of the points that were made on both sides, but in particular, I have some more significant questions about this one because of what was raised not only in the letter, which I cursorily had the opportunity to read, but also in the public hearing. So that's, for what it's worth, those are my 2 cents.
Okay, and if I may, I want to just clarify, make sure that I understand this correctly. Regardless of the outcome of the vote tonight, all parcels come in front of us next year. Is that correct?
They can. They don't automatically. They'll have to reapply.
My understanding is that all parcels are coming.
Sorry, review.
The ones that are.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking about the 8-year review.
8-year review. So to counter your thought process of that they don't get in this year, they get in the next.
Yes.
Conversely, they could also get in this year and be reviewed next year.
You're right. We are on that anniversary next year. You're right. Okay. That is it 8 or 5 years? I thought it was it's 8 years. So yes. Conversely, yes, you're right. We just happen, as a function of the calendar, next year, all of the parcels will come up for review. Some have been in the district for 8 years, and some that we approved tonight will come up for review next year. We don't review them on the 8th anniversary of each entry, but on a regular 8-year.
Right.
So you're right. You're absolutely right. Now, having said that, I would think it's a lot harder to take something out than it is to put something in. So Legislative Council has a point of question.
Just through the chair, in answer to Legislative Regan's comment, Legislator Crowley's summary was my understanding as well, was that exactly that, you know, this was an oversight that was immediately rectified upon learning of it. And so, just for whatever that's.
Sure. Thank you for that. Legislator Montgomery, then Legislator Sage.
And I'd like to point out our resolution, forget the number that we passed, you know, our new Ag District inclusion resolution that gives the criteria for being in an Ag District. And a code violation, while it is in that criteria, that clearly says at the bottom of that resolution, I don't have it in front of me, if somebody can read it, by no means does any applicant have to meet all this criteria. It is if I may ask Legislative Council to read that, or?
I don't have the resolution in front of me to read, but I can say that no one factor was meant to be dispositive. They were meant to be factors that were read with a mind towards inclusion, not exclusion. So that was...
So having, you know, that oversight and misstep and corrected immediately is a clear example of why that states that, like it does in the resolution.
The board is obligated, the Ag Board, if they learn of some sort of criteria that might exclude a parcel, they're supposed to notify the owner so that they can correct it for exactly that reason. And so what we had is we had that procedure work. So they were notified that there was this thing that would otherwise potentially exclude them, and the owner did the responsible thing and immediately corrected it. So the idea is that this is not meant to be preclusive, it's meant to be a factor to be considered, and if that factor or to weigh on your mind so heavily that you want to include them, that is your prerogative to do so, but that what we saw here was exactly the procedure we set up in our new resolution working and encouraging the landowner to do the responsible thing and to take corrective action. And so to then turn around and use that with a preclusive effect would be in effect punishing them for doing the right thing.
If I may continue, thanks, because Legislator Regan, stated that he wanted some more clarification, if I can give my opinion of the back and forth and the things that I've read just very quickly today, and I wasn't given enough time to give it my due diligence, but, to start with, what being in the NAG district allows, it is a right to farm protection. And what I'm reading in these documents are, I just think, very unfortunate and unfair for it to be characterized as a full-blown commercial operation, where we heard from the applicant that it is not a full-blown commercial operation. They don't intend to expand their operation at all. They're just looking to be in the Ag district. Also, they point out in the document from Keenan Bean, talking about, again, wetlands and steep slopes, not our purview. That's up to the town, that's up to the town code. Again, I would highly recommend, if the town codes aren't strong enough to protect them from this kind of development, then revise them. Also, it was really unfortunate that this comment in this letter, many owners of property seek inclusion in Ag districts to circumvent local zoning requirements, which may be contrary to their commercial farm, meaning contrary to the applicant. That's really unfair. That's a very unfair characterization. That is what is happening here, is what's stated in this document. Yes?
If I could regain control of the meeting?
Sure, I'm sorry.
Thank you, yeah. Let's...
And I'm just...
not to stop, please continue, I just don't...
Okay, I thought I said something wrong, like maybe I'm not supposed to read.
No, I had the resolution if she wanted.
Okay, thanks. Can we, I will read that after.
Okay.
Also, misinformation that mischaracterizes applicants. There is no requirement for the applicant to have gross receipts in the amount of $10,000. I think I'm correct on that. It was, I admit, confusing to me when I was on my town board. I thought they had to, but that's just to get the tax exemption. We're not providing that tax exemption here tonight. We're just approving people to be in the district. So this document is saying that one of the reasons that they're not meeting that $10,000 in gross receipts annually. So I don't know. I think this was very unfair, and I will be voting in favor of this applicant.
Thank you. Legislator Sage and Legislator Russo.
Just to restate again and again and again, this does not mean that these farms don't have to comply with their local zoning laws for their towns. It doesn't mean that they're living on an island and they can just tell the town they can't come in. The town has full control over their own zoning laws, and they can go in and make citations wherever see fit, even after the fact, even after getting approval into the Ag district. If they're not complying with their local zoning laws, the town has every right to go in and say you're not complying with our local zoning laws. So that's all.
Legislator Russo.
Yeah, I would just like to get clarification if there is still a notice of violation on the property to make a better decision, because it's a tough one.
Any other colleagues have any other comments on this question? Seeing none. Well, actually, did you still, Legislator Montgomery, would you still like that resolution?
Can you just, yes, if
Legislative Council.
part of the resolution, we're talking about the criteria that you have to, the criteria that we recommend.
Yes, what we passed was, it says, resolve that consistent with the county's obligations to safeguard the health, safety, and well-being of the residents of Putnam County, when considering whether lands are viable agricultural lands suitable for inclusion in the agricultural district pursuant to section 303B of the Agriculture and Markets Law, the following factors, which are not exclusive, shall be considered by the AFPB in making their recommendations to the Putnam County Legislature, but no single factor shall ever serve as a sole basis for exclusion. 1. Whether the parcel includes viable agricultural land as defined in the Agriculture and Markets Law 301 subsection 7. 2. Whether the parcel is under current or proposed agricultural use, including whether the parcel is presently used or reasonably capable of being used for agricultural production. 3. Whether the parcel, if proposed for agricultural use, qualifies as a startup farm, agricultural economy, including diversification, specialty products, or expansion of an agricultural capacity within the county, supports or refutes inclusion. 5. Whether a sketch plan, business plan, or any other document by which the viability of the proposed startup can be assessed has been provided to demonstrate its potential for becoming a financially viable farm operation if proposed as a startup farm. 6. Whether vacant lands or proposed startup farms are part of a current farm already in operation within the agricultural district, such that the farm is merely transferring a location of an operating business. 7. Whether the parcel is within or adjacent to a critical environmental area as defined in 6 NYCRR 617.2 sub I, or a sensitive natural resource currently identified in critical environmental areas and sensitive natural resources which are provided in Schedule A Annex Tier 2. 8. Whether an on-site assessment has been conducted by members of the AFPB. 9. Whether farm operations follow agricultural best management practices as defined in Agricultural and Markets Law, Section 150 sub 4. And 10. Whether each parcel has been confirmed to be in compliance with town, state, and federal law, free and clear of such violations prior to consideration of the application for inclusion. However, parcels shall not be excluded solely due to unrelated town, state, or federal violations unless such violations directly undermine the agricultural viability or land stewardship. But nothing herein prohibits or enjoins any municipal authority from its lawful code enforcement powers. Violations issued after the submission of an agricultural district application shall not be treated as disqualifying when administrative, unsubstantiated, or unrelated to agricultural use. And 11, whether notice has been provided to adjacent landowners of the applicant's intention to seek inclusion of the parcel in the agricultural district, whether observations and findings made by the AFPB relative to these factors during site visits, where such visits are utilized, support or refute the propriety of inclusion. And 13, whether any additional information that bears upon the purposes, intent, and public interest goals of Article 25-AA, including the protection of farmland, the encouragement of agricultural development, and or the prevention of unreasonable local restrictions on farm operations, support or refute the propriety of inclusion, and further be it resolved in cases of uncertainty regarding statutory interpretation or agricultural viability, the legislature may direct the AFPB to request an opinion from the New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets prior to final legislative action. And be it further resolved that when determining whether land constitutes viable agricultural land as defined in AML 3017 and evaluated under AML 303B, the Putnam County Legislature shall seek advice based upon the specialized knowledge and expertise of the AFPB in assessing these appropriate factors and their recommendations for parcels inclusion or exclusion from the agricultural district. And be it further resolved that these considerations are intended to guide the AFPB analysis and legislative review without creating new statutory thresholds or disqualifying criteria, and shall be applied solely within the scope of Article 25AA. And be it further resolved that all criteria shall be interpreted in the light most favorable towards inclusion, not exclusion. And be it further resolved that if any factor would adversely affect the application for inclusion in the agricultural district, the Agricultural Farmland Protection Board shall notify the applicant upon discovery to give the applicant 10 days to remedy or cure the negative factor. And be it further resolved, and that the rest is in support.
Thank you. Any other legislator? Tommy.
Thank you, Chairman. Could council repeat that, please? I withdraw that.
Censure Tom.
You're in the dock, Tom.
Yeah,
Thank you.
second. Legislator Handler.
Any other comments from my colleagues on this parcel? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please. Again, this is on 5AA.
Legislator Adizio, Legislator Crowley.
I don't know. Can you circle back to me, please?
Legislator D'Angelo,
Yes.
Legislator Goldman,
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery,
Yes.
Legislator Regan,
Yes.
Legislator Russo,
No.
Legislator Sage,
Yes.
Chairman Birmingham,
No.
and Legislator Crowley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 5BB, give an approval to include parcels in the Putnam County Agricultural District for the town of Southeast. The Dingle Ridge Pollinator Farm, parcel ID number 69-17-1-18-1. Total acreage 16.67 acres.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Legislator Adizio, Legislator Crowley.
Yes.
Legislator D'Angelo.
Yeah.
Legislator Goldman,
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery,
Yes.
Legislator Regan,
Yes.
Legislator Russo,
Yes.
Legislator Sage,
Yes.
Chairman Birmingham.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 5CC. We have an approval to include parcels in the Putnam County Agricultural District for the town of Southeast. The Twin Oak Ventures LLC, parcel ID 57-2-52.4. Total acreage 48.88.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Legislator Adizio, Legislator Crowley.
Yes.
Legislator D'Angelo,
Yes.
Legislator Goldman,
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery,
Yes.
Legislator Regan,
Yes.
Legislator Russo,
Yes.
Legislator Sage,
Yes.
Chairman Birmingham.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 5ED, the last one on our list. We have an approval to include parcels in the Putnam County Agricultural District for the town of Putnam Valley. The Clara Tuna Farm, parcel number 72.12-1-6, total acreage 1.7.
Any discussion? Legislator Crowley.
I did push for this farm last year as a startup farm, and from talking to my colleagues and I have a lot of that voice in the room, and hearing that there hasn't been much development. I am going to be voting no this year on it. I do wish them much success, and I hope they continue to farm as they can, and they continue to do wonderful things over there, but the past 3 years, I haven't seen much or heard much development, so I will not be in support of this farm this year.
Thank you. Legislator Sage.
Thank you, Chairman. This did pass the ag vote. I was also under the understanding that it is a startup farm. It is an orchard. From what I understand, just backing up what Legislator Crowley was saying, is there hasn't been any changes to the farm. I know it's an orchard and the trees have to grow, but many of them that I saw were unviable. I hope they continue with their orchard and they continue with the process and that they're able to sell to, I was one of the 2 votes no on this. I'm not going to change my vote, but I will make the distinction that most of the board did vote for this particular farm, but I'm just going to stick with my original vote.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Russo.
Thank you. I feel the same. Not much has changed from last year, and I thought the farmer would have put a lot more effort into the farm so that this year they would be included. So I'm a little disappointed in that. I am hoping it'll continue, and hopefully next year there'll be something, more sustainable, and it'll have grown a lot.
Thank you. And let me have the legislator before we legislator reading.
Thank you, Chairman. With time constraints being what they are, thank you, Legislators Crowley, Sage, and Russo for visiting these properties and sharing your information with us tonight. It's invaluable. Thank you.
Legislative Council has a question or point?
Just a point of law, the startup criteria for an orchard is 5 years, so just they still qualify as a startup for a 5-year period for an orchard. Just
Thank you. Legislator Montgomery.
Just like you say, farming takes a long time, and I know this farmer has done a lot of tried and fails, and that's what farming is, and glad that he's still trying.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote on 5DD. Excuse me. Yes, DD.
Legislator Agnazio. Legislator Crowley.
No.
Legislator D'Angelo.
Yes.
Legislator Goulman.
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery.
Yes.
Legislator Regan.
No.
Legislator Russo.
No.
Legislator Sage.
No.
Chairman Birmingham.
Yes, it's 4-4. Does not pass. Thank you, Legislator Goulman. You've done a yeoman's job tonight. Thank you for that. It was quite a trip. Thank you for that. Next, we're going to the Economic Development and Energy Committee, chaired by Legislator Russo.
Oh,
You're on.
sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay, on behalf of Legislators Crowley and D'Angelo, I bring forth approval for the APAP Land Management LLC. It's a pilot agreement for payment in lieu of taxes, and it was from the Industrial Development Agency.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this item? I would just like to state that this item and the next item were brought to us, as Legislator Russo mentioned, by the Industrial Development Agency. We have our chairman, Bill Nelk, here. I just want to say a shout out, thanks to you, Bill, for all you do for the IDA, the team, the board members, and this is something that statutorily we are not required to vote on, but I think it speaks volumes to the IDA that they, in their own wisdom, have asked for not only ours, but I guess every taxing entity's approval. So thank you for that consideration. You don't have to do that, but you and the board choose to. Thank you. Thank you for approving course. So thank you for that. We know you don't have to ask our permission, but we're happy to vote on this. Any other discussion on this? Legislator Crowley.
I just want to say thank you to Bill. I'm excited that we are putting in, the biggest thing that you take a risk with a pilot is that they're not going to be successful. Well, this is a business that's moving to expand, so that's really exciting. I'm thrilled that you guys are still actively moving on new businesses and keeping businesses thriving, and I'm excited about this and excellent. So thank you very much, and thank you to the two new businesses or moving businesses in Putnam County.
Indeed. Any other comments from my colleagues? Legislator Russo.
As I said in committee, thank you, Bill. I'm happy that these companies are going to stay in Putnam County, keep the tax revenue going, even if we're giving them a little discount. It encourages them to stay. The other thing I had said that if we can't retain our businesses, it's going to be hard to ask businesses to come into Putnam. So thank you.
Any other discussion? Legislator Sage and Legislator Reed. Sorry.
I just want to make a note about businesses in Putnam County and in any county. There's plenty of counties across the country that are discouraging to businesses and pushing them out. And these businesses are moving away, taking their workforce with them and their tax dollars with them. Anytime that we can encourage businesses to invest in Putnam County, our taxpayers are the benefit, our workforce is the benefit, our workers are the benefit, our construction companies are the benefit. So I'm in full favor of these pilot agreements, and I thank IDA and especially Bill Knoll for chairing this for so many years, for bringing these businesses to Putnam County and making Putnam County business friendly.
Thank you. Legislator Reed.
Thank you, Chairman. During the committee, and even up till right now, I had some questions back and forth about which way I might vote on this, but I have to take the opportunity to thank Bill for answering those many questions that I had. He answered all my questions, but alleviated my reservation by voting yes. He alleviated my reservation voting yes by reminding me about the retention portion of the IDA. And I appreciate that, so I'm going to vote yes on this item and want to take the opportunity to recognize that the IDA also, what their retention efforts are just as equally as important as their recruiting efforts to the Putnam County. Thank you.
Indeed. And they are all volunteers as well, so we thank you for that too. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Thank you. Our second item on the agenda is 5FF, approval for Kinsley Group Inc., payment in lieu of taxes, another pilot agreement brought forward by the Industrial Development Agency, the IDA.
Any discussion? I will just say ditto. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Legislator Russo. Next, we're going to move on to the Audit and Administration Committee, chaired by Legislator Crowley.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to move forward on behalf of Legislators Regan and Russo and myself. Agenda item 5GG, the approval of reallocation of ARPA funds from Stabilization Center to countywide paving projects in the amount of $2,147,000.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on 5GG? Legislator McCormick.
I appreciate that the resolution reflects the correct dates, stating that on June 8th, the county executive executed the termination of convenience because he had previously indicated that he did that in April and then sent us a letter of necessity. I had requested during that committee meeting that we receive an updated letter of necessity to correct and complete the record, and I don't think we received that. I asked Legislative Council or the Legislative Clerk if we did receive that.
No, we did not get a new letter of necessity, but a letter of necessity was not needed in this circumstance because we have adequate time. There wasn't the same exigent circumstances to put it on the agenda or anything like that, so it was not necessary.
Another question, will that original letter of necessity be included in any of the documents, reflecting the April 13th date? Because what could be said is the county executive requested this on April 13th and executed a termination for convenience, and that's just not the truth. But then we have this, so we might have conflicting documents.
Well, our
Please wait to recognize. Go ahead. Yeah, I know. I just wanted.
I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. Good.
Thank you.
I apologize.
Go ahead, please.
No, I was saying that the record is clear. There's been ample discussion on the legislative record as to this, and our resolution memorializes the date and the sequence of events. So I don't think there's concern.
Yeah. So I understand the need for this reallocation. I don't appreciate the way we went about this. We didn't try hard enough to retain these funds for mental health, so I'm not going to be in favor of this.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll just like to echo a little bit of the discussion about the confusion. I'm in wholehearted agreement. In my view, the contract was not terminated until the county executive terminated the contract, and that happened on June 8th, 2026, as it's recited in our resolution. I think it's important that we keep in mind that our charter requires the county executive to sign contracts, and what necessarily leads from that is that only the county executive on behalf of the county can bind the county, and only he, or in some cases obviously we've had a woman, she, can unbind the county when it comes to contracts. When we were in committee originally back, I think it was in April, maybe even more, it was April, I guess, we were told that the contract was canceled for convenience. At that point in time, it was, in my view, not canceled for convenience because the county executive hadn't signed that cancellation. So that speaks to your point. And not just getting that on more on the record. I'm going to vote in favor of this, though, because I think what it does is it recognizes the diligence this legislature put into trying to go that extra mile to, unfortunately, wasn't able to happen through no fault of our own, and certainly through no fault, in my opinion, of People USA. We wanted to go further, just to exhaust every possibility to use these ARPA funds for human services purposes. And I think that was a great effort on our part. Unfortunately, it wasn't able to happen, and this is where we are, and we don't want to lose money. Legislator Montgomery.
Thank you. Yeah, it's obvious to me we're not going to lose the money. It's obvious to me, and it's been obvious to me for quite a long time that you have had the votes for this transfer based on, the consensus that I was hearing in committee meetings. So my vote reflects my principle and not that I want the county to lose $2.1 million. Certainly not. And it's obvious that you have votes, but on principle. And again, we basically had our arms twisted since January to do this, and no efforts were made to keep the money where it was originally allocated and where the public was made aware that it would go.
Thank you. Point well taken. Thank you. Any other discussion from my colleagues? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote on 5GG.
Legislator Adonisio, Legislator Crowley.
Yes.
Legislator D'Angelo,
Yes.
Legislator Bullman,
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery,
No.
Legislator Regan,
Yes.
Legislator Russo,
Yes.
Legislator Sage,
Yes.
Chairman Birmingham.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Then we move on to agenda item 5HH, which is the approval of budgetary amendment 26A052, finance to reallocate ARPA funding from the Stabilization Center Project to the countywide paving project, and reverse budgetary amendment 26A026, approved by R11-6/2026.
Any discussion? Yes.
I just want to comment. This did take a great deal of movement to get this reallocated to paving. It wasn't just hop, skip, and a jump. There was a lot of moving parts behind the scenes to get this done, and I think that needs to be said. It wasn't just rubber stamped or just kind of thrown out there. It took people to get this done, and I'm thankful that we are able to fix some of our roads. You didn't see what Route 6 looks like yesterday, the sinkholes of potholes if you're driving on roads every single day. They're a mess, so we do need this money, we do need to fix them. Residents pay for this, and this is ARPA money, and why would we give this away? So we need to give credit where credit is due and move forward.
Any other discussion? Legislator Montgomery.
I'd like to review that, and if someone was insinuating that I was in favor of giving this money away, that's not the truth, and that's far from the truth, and that's what you just insinuated. My goal was to keep this money where it was publicly intended, where we first agreed to put it, and that was for mental health, and no attempts were made by all these moving parts. Many attempts were made to put it in paving starting in January, when there was ample time to keep it in mental health, and no efforts were made to keep it in mental health at that time.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Somebody who hasn't spoken yet, Legislator Regan.
Thank you, Chairman. I have to review your review. Just say that there were efforts, but they were failed efforts. There were failed efforts prior to January and failed efforts.
There were no efforts by the administration.
That clarifies it. That clarifies the efforts were made, I believe by some of your colleagues here. I just believe some of your colleagues here efforted this with great work. To recognize that, yes, you were one of them, but you were not the only one that tried to effort that, so there were efforts. Thanks, Chairman.
Any discussion from somebody else that's spoken yet before we do a second round? Legislator Crown.
Yeah, I don't appreciate the speculation. I did want Stabilization Center. I was very upset that we didn't do it, but I'm glad that we did move monies into a separate line to make sure that we did have it there to continue to search for some sort of mental health, whether it be a mobile crisis center or a stabilization center elsewhere. But we do have that, so we did do that together collectively as a body with other parts of the executive and the Department of Health, and everybody else is going to be, we're going to have to be a collective team. So all in all, I see it a win on both sides. The money is set aside for the stabilization center or some sort of mental health, and we have community. So I'm appreciative on both sides.
Seeing no other comment, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Legislator Adizio, Legislator Crowe.
Yes.
Legislator D'Angelo.
Yes.
Legislator Bullman.
Bill, we're voting on 5H.
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery.
I haven't seen any transfers for mental health presented to us, so no.
Legislator Regan.
Yes.
Legislator Russo.
Yes.
Legislator Sage.
Yes.
Chairman Birmingham.
Yes.
Motion carries.
5AA is the approval of budgetary amendment 26A054 Historian Grant Award for the New York State 250th Commemoration Commission of the New York State Education Department to support revolutionary Putnam County initiatives in the amount of $15,000 and zero fiscal impact.
Is there any discussion?
Just,
Legislator Regan.
thank you, Chairman, just to correct my colleague, I believe you said 5AA, doing a lock here, that is 5II.
I
So we're
apologize.
just going to get it right for the record, 5II.
Aye, aye, sir.
Aye.
Acton.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye. That joke wrote itself.
That wasn't even a dad joke.
There you go.
Thank you, Legislator Crowley, for leading us through the audit agenda. Now we're on to item number 6, which is other business. We have before us item 6A, approval amending county policy on non-PUMA management confidential active employee and current retirees for health insurance benefits to supersede Resolution 123 of 2026 and any prior resolutions. This, you might recall, was brought to our attention by our district attorney. There was a resolution presented to us by the county department, and it had inadvertently included an old schedule. So for the sake of completeness, what this resolution does is, from a substantive standpoint, doesn't change anything, just merely incorporates the current schedule that is currently in our contract, in our contract with PUMA. So it's more of a housekeeping matter. There's nothing too substantive about it. It doesn't change the underlying substance of what was requested of us. So on behalf of my colleagues, I'll move that, and I believe we do need a second since it's other business.
Second.
Legislator Regan, any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
The next item is item 6B, approval to rescind resolution number 153, which is the motor fuel sales tax adjustment. Now this is interesting, it's got a little bit of a history to it. We had submitted to the State Department of Finance, Taxation and Finance, the latest version of our gasoline tax abatement, and we got the green light from them. Everything looked great. We passed it last month, and then when we sent it up, we were then notified by the Department of Taxation and Finance that the sunset date that we had was not on a date that the state sales tax quarter ends. So what we have to do, if we want to do this, is rescind that resolution first and pass something that will sunset on September 1st, 2028, which will be the next item. This one just merely rescinds item 6B. The good news here, though, is the start date for our sales tax decrease will still take place September 1st of this year. It does not delay it, unlike the last iteration does. And in the spirit of the third time being a charm, Let's hope this doesn't. So that's what we had before us in 6B, is merely to rescind the one that was blessed by the state taxation finance, and then unblessed. And then the next item, 6C, will be to conform it to their somewhat arcane requirements. I'll move that on the second 6B. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on 6B? Legislator Regan.
Thank you, Chairman. I have to say I fail to understand how we can have half a resolution go forward and half the other half we have to rescind and then approve. That seems to you counterintuitive to everything else like we've accomplished here tonight. We either vote yes or no on a complete paragraph. So if I understand it correctly, we're gonna vote to rescind the resolution, but the resolution is still in effect?
No, technically, this resolution, if it passes tonight, 6B, I'm talking about the rescinding resolution, the resolution we passed last month will still be in effect until the county executive signs this resolution. So, like all of our resolutions, except for those very few that deal with only our own internal proceedings, the county executive will consider 6B, and until he signs this resolution, last month's resolution is still in effect, because all of our resolutions require county executive approval. So even after tonight ends, that resolution will still be in effect. Stay tuned, though. The next resolution will reinstate the $3 cap on sales tax. We just have to hope the county executive signs it in the proper order. Okay. So that's where we are. Okay, any other discussion on this item 6B? It's been moved and I believe seconded by Legislator Russo. All in favor?
Aye.
So now we are moving item 6C, which is the approval of motor fuel sales tax adjustment. Again, just the only difference here between the one we passed last month and the one we're considering right now is the sunset date. The sunset date will be on September 1st, 2028, because that is the date of the end of the state sales tax quarter. So it's been triple checked, I think, with taxation and finance at this point, so this should be fine. Again, I'll move it. I'll need a second because it's an additional, it's other business. Is there a second? Second. And I'm not going to give Legislator Regan a heart attack here, but I am going to comment that there are other counties that have gone down to $2 just recently. And the county in the Hudson Valley passed a resolution to have the sales tax cut off at $2, and we're doing $3. But I'm not going to make an amendment to this, Tom. I don't like that, and I don't want us to move the speed of government. That's my comment on that, somewhat snarkily. Is there any other comment? Legislator Reed.
Thank you. So thank you for not making a motion on a look-at-me item like other counties may be doing, without us having the opportunity to study the fiscal impact and consider any budgetary issues that may have there. So thank you for not making an amendment on that. I'll be voting in favor of this.
Thank you. All fair points. Thank you for that. Any other discussion? Seeing no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, the next item is item number 7, is recognition of public on agenda items. This is a part of our meeting where we invite the public who's here this evening to join us at the podium. If they have any comments on any of the agenda items that were entertained, whether they were passed or not, we'd ask them to come up to the podium, state their name, and state the item upon which they'd like to speak. So I'll open it up to the public. Is there any public comment? Welcome.
Good evening. Just a quick point of clarity. If I have comments on multiple items on tonight, do you want them separately, or do you want to sit down and come back up?
You have to exit the building and then come back. No, of course.
Speak up.
No, yes, at the speed of government. No, please feel free to go through the seriatim. Just let us know before you touch on an item which item you'd like to talk on, just so we can get there as well in our agenda. So we do have
What we call Scott Seaman style, right? As you go to the agenda items.
So feel free, your name, and then the first item, and then just jump to the next one, and just give us some time to get there.
Understood. Hi, my name is Nick Fannin. I'm a resident of Carmel. My first comment this evening is actually on multiple items. I believe they were all on item 5. Let me make sure that the agricultural district.
Yes.
I have the good fortune of being on the Town of Carmel's Environmental Conservation Board for about a decade. And I will tell you that one of the most difficult challenges that we've had while on the board, or I had, was going back and forth and debating about the anyone in the agriculture district and coming before us. It was as complex as logging operations, which you can imagine are quite inclusive of many rules and regulations and laws in New York State for protecting the environment, and oftentimes there's a lot of different programs that these logging companies can be in. Same thing with agricultural districts, the programs that they're in, what they have signed up for, what protections they have. My comment this evening for all of those, for everyone that you've done on here, is thank you for the long consideration on all of them. Not every environmental conservation board, and there's a number of names of those in the county, have, in the towns in the county, have dedicated individuals who can research all of the rules and laws at New York State level and sometimes even federal level that they are required to follow, and it can very quickly open up zoning problems, whether or not the zoning enforcement or the code enforcement can even enter properties, and there's a lot of wiggle room between what is permissive and what is not, and it's a gray area. So I do want to thank you all for your dedication to looking at each of these individually. It makes the town's jobs a lot easier, and it made our job easier whenever we got accompanying documentation with an agricultural application, when they were trying to add a barn, do some dredging, whatever that might be. It made it a lot easier when you have done your due diligence, and I appreciate that. That was it on the comment. I had to say that because there was 10 years of dedication there, and I had to make sure that you understood how important it was that you take the time on that. My other comment I would like to add tonight is on item, I think it was 5D. This is amend local law chapter 55, section 55-12, Putnam County Code entitled Board of Ethics Establishment and so forth. So, as this whole board knows, I had sent a letter prior to this with a ton of research that I've done on New York State and how all 62 counties in this state manages the nominations and then approvals or confirmations of ethics board members. The proposal that was here tonight, I heard a few key reasons why it was being presented. One of them was for transparency's sake. There's a conversation quite a lot about the actual process that people go through, that nominees go through, in order to show up in front of this board. If they apply, whether or not they're approved or not, how they get an interview, all of that seems relatively opaque. At least that was from some of the conversation that I've heard tonight. I've heard another goal of removing partisanship. That one of the reasons why we are changing how we're nominating people to the ethics board is because we want to remove any semblance of partisanship that seems to be happening right now on our ethics board. And the third reason I think was hammered home quite extensively was we need a board working ASAP. Those were the three big things that I heard this evening. I want to say that this is the first public debate that I've heard amongst the entire legislature on this very important rules change. The speed of government happens not because we want to go slow, not because we want to move at a snail's pace. It's because it really needs to be thought about. Because what you are passing here and what comes through is required, it will be impacting not just now, but generations of board members and legislatures from now. It will impact generations of people living in this county. The proposal that you put before us does only one of those goals. It gets a board potentially faster. I want to do a counter proposal. There's another way you can get a board faster, and that is by actually putting people on the board. People have come before you. You've rejected them, and that is your right. In fact, I think it is a very important checks and balances that is in place. You were able to say, no, we're not going to put those people on. That is your prerogative, that is what the code enables you to do. Great. But to say that we don't have a board and it's non-functioning because of the rules in place right now and that they need to change is disingenuous. That is not the reason that there's no board in place. People have come before you, people that were nominated by the county executive, and this board did not add them in. So the board is currently non-functioning. Removing partisanship by explicitly making the nomination process partisan, by saying we're going to give the lone Democrat on the board the person who is the only Democrat on the board, the chair of the minority committee, not the chair, the leader of the minority party on the board, there we go, to give that sole person a full nomination slot is taking away this board's ability to say, I'm not going to consider this person because of who it came from. You are now explicitly saying we are going to give the minority chair, the minority leader on this board, a slot. Everyone else, doesn't matter which party is, but that one, yes, absolutely. And in the sole case, which has happened in recent times, where this board is a single party, in that sole case that is thought about as a pipe dream, we're going to give the party boss of the Democratic committee an ability to nominate a person on the ethics board. If that is not breeding horse trading, if that is not breeding tracks, where individuals on this board and party bosses have the ability to make nominations with political favor, I don't know what is. Like that is insane to me. I will be completely transparent. I am the chairman of the Carmel Republican Committee. There's no way that an ethics board should ever come to the county chair of any political party. There is no way. That, in the research I sent you, is we would be the only county in New York State to say that we are giving the party boss a say on the ethics committee. The only one. And you know why? Because that is bad legislation. They are not elected by the people of this county. You are. Take responsibility. If you need to make sure that it is more transparent about how people are getting put on this ethics board, then bring it into this committee. Make it so all of you have to debate it. Make it so that the nominations come from the floor. Whatever it is that you feel that you need to solve, solve it. But one of them is not partisanship. That is not the problem. It is an 8-to-1 legislature right now, and a county executive who is also a Republican. To try to couch this in, we're building a less partisan culture on our ethics board is disingenuous. I do want to say that I very much appreciate that you are looking at this old charter. That is very important. Decades old, with no change, stifles our progress. It makes it so our county is behind the times, and I appreciate that you are taking the time to do that. And I do hope that you go at the speed of government when making such fundamental changes to our code. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from any member of the public? Please.
It's the time for fireworks.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a lot. I have a lot. Sorry.
Just give us the items that you go through. So.
It's going to be ethics board and ag. I think that's it. I might change my mind.
That's fine.
But I think it's on the agenda. I don't know what numbers they are.
Okay, so 5D, I think is, if you ethics board, that's item 5D.
I'll start there, I guess.
Okay.
So I want to make sure I'm not misquoting here. I love if you guys get your ethics board back. That'd be so great. Putnam County doesn't have an HR department. I have nowhere to send my gripes and grievances, right? So an ethics board, and part of this will tie into soil and water, which ties to this gentleman's comment here about the towns. There's no information for the ethics board, so I would say, because you have a minority right now sitting in this legislature, the sooner you do this, the better, right? Because then it gets a functioning ethics board, and then you guys can argue, keeping politics out, and share people of liberal parties, you know, talking about this. Let's keep politics out, right? But to that end, you have someone here that could then point, and then you guys can decide and make sure, fix it after. There hasn't been a functioning ethics board in a very long time. With you online as a member of the public, there's nothing from 2023, so there's an annual report due to this legislature. I've sat through a gross amount of your meetings. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the ethics board reports come to this legislature. Now, I might have blacked out because I have sat through too many. But I don't recall in 24, in 25, and I haven't seen anything this year, and I've been at almost every single one, any ethics board report, which is also financial disclosures, things like that, that it's in your charter, in our charter, to do that. So the sooner you get an ethics board, the happier everyone would be, because again, there's no HR department, so at least if there's an ethics board, when I have complaints about something, in particular personnel or things like that, there is somewhere to bring that, someone to hear it. Because you're right, there are towns that have brought issues to the ethics board because they don't have one in their own town, and it's been defunct. So 2023 for the annual ethics board report, it links to the wrong document. 2024 and 2025 are nowhere to be found. There are no minutes since January 2025, and there's sporadic minutes all the way from 2023 until 2025. So there is no ethics board. The sooner you could do this, the happier lots of people would be. In regards to the partisan portion of it, there are counties that literally ask what party you are enrolled in and ensure that there can only be 2 of this party, 2 of this party. I do not love that in the least, because that is inserting politics into it. I mean, if the Democrat chair wanted to say, hey, well, not me particularly, but say, hey, let's nominate me. That's not saying that a Democrat can't nominate a Republican or a conservative or somebody who's unaffiliated. So I think this is, in my opinion, the most sanitized of partisan anything, because you're not saying that that Democrat chair or that Republican chair, God forbid that happened one day, it's not saying that that person has to appoint someone from their own party. That's an assumption that's being made that is, again, future cop, which brings me down to the agricultural wormhole. So with the ethics board, again, I cannot stress enough, I have looked, I have asked, there is no ethics board. The sooner government can move faster than the speed of government on this, the happier lots of people would be. I guess to start with the towns, specifically environmental committees and the agricultural district. You're going to hate this. Soil and water conservation district strikes again. Since 1993, it was absorbed into the county illegally. But it was absorbed into the county and not treated as an independent board. So it's a municipality that is supposed to be able to work with the towns and municipalities in order to guide them in things like this. We have the resources and the ability to work with the towns, work with the landowners, and get everybody so that they understand what people can and can't do. We are that resource. That resource was muffled for decades. We are back now. And so to that end of, that particular gentleman who was here, we are back. We just barely gone back. We're waiting on an audit, hopefully soon. I know that RFP window closes shortly. I'm not getting off topic. The sooner that we have our authority fully back intact, our employees starting within a week, I couldn't be more thrilled, we will be able to be that resource again. And that brings me to, from 2012 through 2020, every recommendation, every farm that was, every parcel, that was recommended for inclusion by the Ag Board, which was not always all of them, from 2012 to 2020, every single recommendation your Ag Board made, this legislature took. 2020, this legislature decided to start saying, we're the agricultural experts. You're experts in a lot. But the state law provides you 11 volunteers. Some of them are paid, I'm not one of those people. But to sit on that board, to review and to sit through the trainings that we can't mandate all of you to sit through. Back in March, and it was one day this year we were able to have, only 3 of you were able to come. We hope to have more, and I hope to see more of you. Because if it's an ag program for support, it would be best if every sitting member of the legislature fully understood what that meant and what it did, and it didn't get derailed by local politics. I know tonight Legislator Russo said, you were disappointed in the Ag Board for voting certain ways. I'm deeply disappointed because I've spent a lot of time this year, and our board has spent a lot of time. If I was the no vote, or if I was the yes vote, the entire board majority overrode me, I wouldn't say otherwise. I wouldn't say, well, I disagree. I would sit and I would honor what our ag board as an entirety and a majority voted. So I can't say enough. We go out to site visits. There were 10 parcels this year. That is a lot of time commitment. And it's volunteers that, again, reasonable people can disagree. And I get that. But you just need to understand, have hope that you will understand the message it sends to agriculture in Putnam County. I first reached out to state officials back in '24, asking what's going on? Why does Putnam County need to be such a problem with ag districts? We're one of the only counties that continues, or since 2003, to fundamentally misunderstand what it allows you to do and what it allows you not to do. We're one of the only counties, and state officials have quite literally, directly said you should do a cost analysis of relocating your farming operation to a more friendly county. And unfortunately tonight, why would anyone apply for the agricultural district if all it does is invite scrutiny and politics into their lives? You saw people here that have been farming for years, successfully or unsuccessfully. You had no opposition from some town supervisors in towns, and they didn't get it. Not because the ag board didn't recommend it, but because this legislature believed differently, which again, is well within your prerogative. But the reality of it is a bad message that it's sending to agricultural district applicants. I personally would like to go on record and say I cannot say that I would go seeking folks out to join in this process, because if it becomes, which it has, always in the last hour, on the last day, particular violations and things like that, they may not have an impact. And let's say they didn't have an impact on applications this year. That's great, but that does have an impact on the landowner. These people have been farming and doing what they're doing with no bother from anyone. If the town chooses not to enforce their codes until it's shoved under their nose, I don't think that's fair to applicants in general, regardless if they get in or don't get in. Someone from experience who we reached out to a town to want to clear those up that only arise when the application was submitted. Since then, everything's fine. There's no issues. There's no issues before. You apply for ag districts, suddenly there's a lot of problems for you. And then it settles back down. So I cannot say enough. I really hope this straightens out at some point in someone's lifetime. Hopefully it is mine. But from 2003 or 2012, because I can't go back further than that, that is in archives and I probably won't ever find it. From 2012 to 2020, every parcel that was recommended by your ag board, the legislature took. 2020, everything changed. So I'm not sure if that's a sign of the times. We can't blame COVID on that, but I really would hope that, I know that you all say you recognize and support the volunteers that serve on these boards. It is a struggle to feel that support in times like this. Ethics board, ag, I think that's all I have. I would like to remind again, whether these people got into the ag district or not, they are still going to farm. They're still going to have the support of all of the conservation people and things like that, because they are stewards of the land. We're not trying to get one over. The ag board would sniff that out from a mile away. So, thank you, and I really hope we get the ag district right.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion from any member of the public? Seeing none, we'll move on to our next item, which is recognition of legislators. Item 8, any of my colleagues care to share anything, have any recognition, any thing to say? Legislator Montgomery.
Yeah, I'm proud of the work that we've done with all of these difficult things tonight, and they weren't easy, and I'm proud of the work that we've done as a legislature on many of these difficult things, and people have changed their opinions, some have changed their votes, and I think that's great work for democracy. I do want to clarify a couple of things, because I felt like we were being yelled at, and first of all, a party chair, party boss, as it was referred to, is elected by the people of the county. They're the first level of elected official in the county. So that's one thing, and to just, address that we'd be the outlier if we did this. Putnam should not aim to ever be average when it comes to ethics. And if we're, the letter concedes that some counties use split nomination models. Suffolk uses shared models that includes appointments by the county executive, the presiding officer, the majority leader, and the minority leader, subject to legislative approval. Horse trading is more likely when all power is concentrated and the public cannot see how names are selected. And that's what we have here. A designated seat system like we have just passed is transparent. The public knows who nominated whom, and every nominee still receives a public vote. So transparency is not horse trading. Closed door control is what creates horse trading. So again, I'm glad that we overcame a lot of the difficulty with this and that we have this. I never said we don't have a functioning ethics board. We have an ethics board that's still operating. They've been going to court regularly. So I've never said we don't have a functioning ethics board. I believe we do. It's not how we want it, so we're improving it. Thank you.
Thank you.
4th of July.
Any other legislative stage?
Yeah, just a couple of short remarks. First of all, nothing we do here is ever easy. It's controversial, it's difficult. You have to say things sometimes that you have to pick the lesser of evils. I think tonight is certainly one of those nights. But specifically, I'd like to speak about the Ag Board. I had the opportunity to sit on the Ag Board temporarily for Legislator Montgomery, and I was so impressed with all of these particular farms and all the people and their dreams of farming. And I don't want to disparage anyone from their dream of farming, and I think we need to encourage farming in Putnam County. One thing that I've heard over and over again from the Ag Board as I was participating in these discussions repeatedly is the Ag Board's only job is to determine if there is agricultural viability. The legislature needs to admit them into the Ag District, and the legislature needs to not admit them to the Ag District. So I think that's what we did here tonight. I don't think it's our obligation as a legislature to just check mark and say, yep, Ag Board said we're going to put these people in. I think we did a difficult job. I know it was, it certainly was difficult for me to vote on a few of these, but I'd just like to say that we'll never give up our ability to represent our constituents and give up our vote for anything. I think it's important that the legislature votes and has a say. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Legislator D'Angelo.
Yeah, I just want to recognize that 2 Saturdays ago, Legislature-Carmel had their annual firework display for the 4th of July, and I just want to commend everybody who stepped up, all the business leaders, community leaders, who stepped up to close the financial gap on that, and it was one of the best shows, I think, in recent history, and it certainly was a good way to kick off America 250 as we headed into the week of the Independence Day. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you. Legislator Russo.
I have a few things. So, this year Patterson did fireworks for the 4th of July, the 250th celebration. It was an amazing show. I thank everyone who came together at the last minute and got it up and running. It, for me, was one of the best shows I've seen, or displays of fireworks. And I've received a bunch of, comments and phone calls from people all over the county that it was one of the best shows. So I thank everyone who did that. I know next Sunday, Southeast will be doing theirs, and we'll see weather-wise. However, their show is probably a little bigger than Patterson, but for a little Patterson, we did a good job. The other thing I wanted to do was thank everybody who attended the return of Sybil Ludington to the shores of Lake Oneida. It was an amazing experience. I'm glad I was there, joined by Legislator D'Angelo. And it was a pretty full, can't say house because it was on the grass. However, it was pretty packed. It was amazing. A lot of effort went into it. The restoration of it, it's beautiful. So I'm glad she's back for this time in our lives. There was a tube used for important documents, and the time capsule hopefully won't be open for 100 years. So I will not be here for that. However, I was able to stick my legislative business card in there. So in 100 years, someone will see it and know that we put a lot of effort approving the payments to have it restored. My last little thing is, at the speed of government, I'm glad to see the Taxpayer Transparency Act passed, although the name changed, multiple versions changed. The bottom line is it's transparency. It wasn't my version that got passed, but at least it got passed, so I thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment? Legislator Goldman.
Thank you, Chairman. Tonight was a pretty historical time we had 10 families, individuals, corporations, whatever you want to call them, try to get into the ag district and be farmers. I've never been a farmer. My father grew up on a ranch. I have family members who are ranchers, and I can tell you that in America today, the small farmer is disappearing. Larger farms are taking over. They're putting the small farmer out of business. So whatever we can do here in Putnam County and the surrounding area to promote small farms, whether it's raising crops of some kind or raising cattle or pigs or chickens, I support that because you don't realize it living so close to New York City, but one of the biggest crops, one of the biggest economic sectors in New York is agriculture, whether it's apples or milk cows or whatever. And it's a very big product here in New York. We don't realize it here because we're so close to New York City, but it's a reality when you leave and you go a little farther north. Small farming is important. Let's continue to promote small farming, and let's not have it disappear, because if that disappears, what we get as products might not be what we're accustomed to today. So, thank you.
Thank you. I have two brief items. One is to echo what Legislator Russo was talking about with respect to Sybil Ludington. I've never understood why Sybil Ludington nationally does not have a bigger reputation than she does. We all know about Paul Revere, his Midnight Ride, but the fact of the matter is Sybil Ludington, at half his age, went twice the distance, and she didn't get captured. So, I mean, I think she's an unsung heroine in American history, and I'm glad that Putnam County, anyway, and others are trying to bring that to the fore, because she, as we celebrate Rev 250, that's certainly one of our heroines that we have to be recognizing. The second item, again, to echo Legislator Russo, I am also glad that we passed in a certain version the Taxpayer Transparency Act. I do believe there's a Part B coming up in the Rules Committee next on that. But one of the important things that was passed in tonight's version, in tonight's Part A, is live streaming, I believe. And one of the things where the rubber hits the road, and I'd like to thank him for his efforts. Rich in the back there, he's here every meeting that we have every month, and he's the one manning and staffing. I've been told staffing is a politically correct word to use, not manning, but staffing our AV equipment so that our meetings can not only be live streamed, but of course archived for future generations in case they have insomnia. So I do want to thank Rich for his efforts. We truly appreciate you being here every month. Any other colleagues have any comments? If not, I'll entertain Tom.
I hesitate because I cannot remember her name, but I can't help let the meeting end without recognizing the young lady who was the organ donor who passed away in the last month. She was here in front of us, yeah, she passed away this month, but set an incredible example for many other people, right, as far as organ donation is concerned, and I think it's a wonderful, wonderful effort. Sad to hear of her passing, and just wanted to put that in our thank you to everything that she accomplished in her life on the record for tonight.
Indeed, not only did she come to our meetings, but I recall seeing her at many naturalization ceremonies with the county clerk. where, you know, of course, county clerk is in charge of our DMV, and she would always advocate for organ donation, and yes, she'll be sadly missed. So perhaps I'll entertain a motion to adjourn in her memory. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, folks. Have a good evening.
No.